Chapter 1559. 1559 Sealed in ice. For half a year Lu Ming roared. Blood-red light burst forth and shattered the ice. But more ice covered Lu Ming's body. Gradually, the ice on Lu Ming's body grew thicker and thicker. In the end it turned into a huge ice block, sealing Lu Ming inside. Lu Ming's body was frozen, and he could not move at all. The terrifying cold air seeped into his body and mind, as if it was going to freeze his killing intent. Then, the Cloud Dragon Valley Master waved his hand, and a round pearl flew out. It floated above Lu Ming's head and endless cold air continuously poured in, solidifying the ice. Chirping, Bubbles cried out and flew near the ice block, her face filled with worry and concern. "All right, I'll suppress Ming Air's killing intent with my saint weapon. I'll take him back to Dragon God Valley, and put him in the 10,000-year-old Ice Jade. I'll use the Ice Jade's cold air to erase Ming Air's killing intent. Little guy, come back to Dragon God Valley with me," the Cloud Dragon Valley Master said. "All right." Pow Pow nodded and landed on the Cloud Dragon Valley Master's shoulder. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master waved his hand, and kept the ice block that sealed Lu Ming. He took a step forward and left the place. Not long after, the Valley Master of Cloud Dragon Valley returned to Dragon God Valley, and placed Lu Ming in the 10,000-year Ice Jade. He used the cold air of the Ice Jade to erase the cold air on Lu Ming's body. Time flew by, and the days went by. Not long after, the treasure sealing assembly ended, and the news of the event also spread throughout the Azure region. This time, it was still the Tianshan sect that suppressed everyone and seized the throne of the first place. The two ancient treasures continued to be kept by the Tianshan sect. In this time's treasure auction, the Tianshan sect had displayed an even more terrifying strength. The Divine Child, number 1 of the 10 demon-level geniuses, lived up to his name. He continued to take first place, suppressing all the other demon-level geniuses, and stood at the peak of the Azure region's younger generation. No one could match him. The most shocking thing was that a new heaven's favorite had appeared in the Tianshan sect. His strength was terrifying, second only to the deity, and he had obtained the second place in this competition. From then on, the top 10 geniuses of the Azure continent were reshuffled, and the Tianshan sect occupied the first 2 places. It could be said that their limelight was unparalleled. The matter of Lu Ming challenging the Divine Sun in 3 years was pushed to the forefront of the news. There was news that the Divine Sun had returned to the Tianshan sect after the end of the treasure auction, and was preparing to enter seclusion to break through to the Saint Realm. With the deity's talent and his many years of cultivation in the half-saint realm, it wouldn't be too difficult for him to break through to the Saint Realm. 3 years later, what would Lu Ming have to compete with the Divine Sun who had reached the Saint Realm? Many people even said that it was impossible for Lu Ming to have a chance to compete with the Divine Sun. If he participated in the treasure-fixing assembly, he would most likely be killed by the demon, who was ranked second in the Divine God sect. In this time's treasure auction, Dragon God Valley had suffered heavy losses. Many powerful heaven's favorites were killed by the Tianshan sect. Even Zifeng, one of the top 10 monstrous talents, returned with serious injuries. In the Azure region, almost every place was talking about what had happened in this year's treasure sealing assembly. It was only after several months that the storm slowly calmed down. Of course, Lu Ming did not know about all this. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, half a year passed. Lu Ming had been frozen in the 10,000-year Ice Jade for half a year. On this day, a cracking sound came from the 10,000-year Ice Jade. Finally, it completely cracked. Lu Ming's eyes, which had been closed for half a year, opened. There was still a faint trace of killing intent in his eyes, but it disappeared in a flash and was concealed by Lu Ming. "Where am I?" Lu Ming looked around and realized that he was in an underground ice cellar. There were cold ice blocks everywhere. His eyes revealed a trace of confusion. He only remembered that when he was besieged by evil spirit, he had no choice but to borrow the power of the third bloodline. In the end, he was drowned by the endless killing intent, and completely lost his mind. Later on, because of a little girl, he regained some of his rationality, and rushed into a forest. He could not remember what happened after that. What happened after that? "Ming'er, you're awake." At this moment, A gentle voice sounded. An old man walked over. Master. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. The old man was his master, the Cloud Dragon Valley Master. Master, did you save me? Lu Ming stood up and bowed to the Cloud Dragon Valley Master as he asked curiously. I have left a mark on you and your fellow disciples. Within a certain range, I can sense it. Fortunately, you were not too far from Dragon God Valley, so I sensed it and rushed over immediately. If you were too far away, the consequences would be unimaginable. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master said. Lu Ming felt a lingering fear. It was true. If the Cloud Dragon Valley Master had not saved him, he would have been reduced to a killing machine. The final result would have been to be besieged and killed by other experts. Chirping. At that moment a screech was heard. A white light shot out from the Cloud Dragon Valley Master's shoulder and flew into Lu Ming's arms. It was Bubbles. At this moment, Bubbles was curled up in Lu Ming's arms. Its furry body rubbed against Lu Ming's body with all its might. Bubble. Lu Ming stroked Bubbles' soft fur and felt very sorry. You must have hit Bubbles back then. Master, how long have I been asleep? Lu Ming asked. It's been half a year. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master said. Half a year. Lu Ming was shocked. He did not expect that he would sleep for half a year. My cultivation. Lu Ming sensed his cultivation and realized that he had a breakthrough. He was at the peak of the 5th level Martial Emperor realm back then. Now, he had actually broken through to the early stage of the 6th level Martial Emperor realm. He had probably digested a little of the endless energy in the bloodline. The energy in the 10,000-year ice jade had also surged into his body, pushing his cultivation to break through in the past half a year. My chaos domain has also reached level 6. Lu Ming thought to himself. Ming, what happened to you back then? Why did he completely enter the slaughter status? The Cloud Dragon Valley Master asked. Master, on my way back from the Tsang Mountains, I was ambushed by evil spirit cult. Following that, Lu Ming told him everything that had happened in the past. Evil spirit, it's actually evil spirit. It seems like evil spirit has really revived. Ming, perhaps it's because of your performance in the Tsang Mountains that evil spirit has set their eyes on you. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master's eyes turned solemn. In being targeted by evil spirit, Lu Ming frowned. The evil spirit cult specializes in hunting people with the potential to become emperors, or even great emperors. Perhaps they think you have the potential to become an emperor, so they sent people to kill you. Cloud Dragon Valley guessed. Maybe, Lu Ming muttered. However, he felt that it was not that simple. Perhaps it had something to do with the bloodline of the prison-suppressing steel. Back then, he had used the bloodline of the prison-suppressing steel to destroy Elder Imo Hun's physical body. Elder Imo Hun might not have died. Ming, so you're saying that the reason you entered that slaughter status was entirely because of your bloodline? The Cloud Dragon Valley Master said. Yes, I am. Lu Ming nodded. I've never heard of such a bloodline. There's actually such a strange bloodline in this world. Ming, in the future, try not to use this bloodline as much as possible. In fact, you might even not use it. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master said. Chapter 1560. 1560 Chapter 1560. Traveling the world. Lu Ming nodded. The third bloodline was too strange. He felt a lingering fear in his heart. The third bloodline, the endless blood sea, and the giant face above the blood sea. What was that? How could there be such a bizarre bloodline in this world? It was completely different from any other bloodline. It was impossible for any other bloodline to possess such fearsome power. Furthermore, it seemed to have its own will. Ming, although I've sealed you in the 10,000-year-old ice jade, and used it to erase your killing intent, some of it has already seeped into the depths of your heart, and even your soul. This is also a potential danger. In the future, you might be affected by this hidden killing intent, and slowly change your personality to become a bloodthirsty person. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master said. Master, what should I do? Lu Ming asked. Go out and gain experience. Walk in the world and nature. Temper your heart, and use the chi of the world and nature to eliminate the killing intent in the depths of your soul. Only in this way can you truly get rid of the influence of the killing intent on you. It will also be of great help to your future cultivation. To become a saint, you need to master the divine law, which is also in the world and nature. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master said. Yes, Master. Lu Ming nodded. Go out and train for a year. A year later, you'll return to Cloud Dragon Valley, and I'll send you to a place. That place might be of greater help to you when you defeat the divine child in 2.5 years. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master said. Clearly, the Cloud Dragon Valley Master already knew that Lu Ming had challenged the divine son. Master, what place is it? Lu Ming was curious. It's a place full of endless dangers and opportunities. Before you go there, you must erase the killing intent in the depths of the spiritual god. Otherwise, you'll probably be affected by it and become a bloodthirsty person. You'll know when you come back in a year. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master said. Lu Ming was helpless and could only give up. That's right, Master. There seems to be an expert from the intentionless saber sect among the people from Evil Spirit. Lu Ming suddenly said. The intentionless saber sect? It seems that some sects have already been infiltrated by Evil Spirit. Ming-er, I will discuss this with the Valley Master and the other sect masters. You don't have to worry too much. Alright, go out. 7th and 8th, we've been waiting for you. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master began to frown, but he soon smiled. Lu Ming nodded. This matter concerned the top sect of the Azure Continent. With his current strength, he could only reveal the news. He couldn't interfere with anything more. He believed that the sect leaders of the top sects in the Azure Continent would be more concerned about the fact that Evil Spirit had infiltrated them. There was no need for him to worry. Senior brother Tian Shui and senior sister Shui? Then, Lu Ming revealed a smile on his face. He followed the Cloud Dragon Valley Master out of the ice cave and came to a glacier valley. This place was still a part of Cloud Dragon Valley. Two figures were waiting outside. They were Tian Shui and Xuanixin. Little junior brother, you're finally awake. It's great that you're fine. Little junior brother, you've been sleeping for half a year. When Tian Shui and Xuanixin saw Lu Ming, they smiled. 7th senior brother, 8th senior sister, long time no see. Lu Ming smiled as well. He then swept his gaze across the room and said, Congratulations, senior brother and sister. Your cultivation has broken through to LV7 Martial Emperor realm. In half a year's time, Tian Shui and Xuanixin's cultivation had improved greatly. They had already reached the 7th level of the Martial Royal Realm and had entered the ranks of high-level Martial Royal Realm. If we don't hurry up, junior brother will catch up with us. Tian Shui laughed. You guys can chat first. Ming-er, if you go out, you don't need to report to me. You can just come back a year later. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master said. He took a step forward and disappeared. Little junior brother, let's go. We haven't seen each other for half a year. Let's go and have a few drinks. Tian Shui grinned. All right, Lu Ming readily agreed. The three of them went to Tian Shui's cave abode. Tian Shui took out more than 10 jars of fine wine. Xuanixin was very forthright. She picked up a jar and drank it in one go. Junior sister, drink slowly. I don't have that much wine for you to drink like this. Tian Shui eagerly said. Stingy. Xuanixin disdainfully glanced at Tian Shui, causing Tian Shui's face to turn bitter. Lu Ming laughed heartily and picked up a jar of fine wine. The three of them drank to their heart's content. After 3 rounds of drinks, Lu Ming bade farewell to Tian Shui and Xuanixin, then strode out of Cloud Dragon Valley. After a while, a beam of light cut through the void. Lu Ming stepped on the air and left Dragon God Valley. Lu Ming did not take the space-breaking flying shuttle, as it was meaningless. Lu Ming did not have a goal for this trip. As the Cloud Dragon Valley Master had said, he wanted to walk in the natural world and borrow the chi of nature to wear down the killing intent in the depths of his soul. Chirping, in Lu Ming's arms the bubble called out. It opened its mouth, and a long spear flew out from it. Black Dragon Spear. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Back then, when they were surrounded by many evil spirit cult experts, Lu Ming had thrown out the Black Dragon Spear and killed one of them. He did not manage to retrieve it in time, and it turned out that it had been kept by Pow Pow. Lu Ming grabbed the Black Dragon Spear and kept it in his sea of consciousness. Thank you, Bubble. Lu Ming touched Bubble's furry little head. Peoba called out softly, revealing a comfortable expression. Then, she opened her mouth and 5 weapons flew out. All of them were saint weapons. A battle blade, a battle sword, an iron rod, a small mountain, and a pagoda. It was the holy weapon that evil spirit had used to kill Lu Ming. Haha, Bubble, you're amazing. Lu Ming was overjoyed. He waved his hand and put away the 5 holy weapons. Following that, a few dozen more storage rings flew out from its mouth. Needless to say, they were all storage rings left behind by the people who had besieged Lu Ming. Lu Ming was overjoyed and kept all of them. Then he took out all the spirit herbs and fed them to Bubbles. Bubbles took a ginseng that was even bigger than his body and gnawed on it. Bubbles' cultivation base is also progressing very quickly. Lu Ming sensed carefully with a smile on his face. The Titan longhorn beetle had given Bubbles a time and space spinel back then. With the help of the spinel, Bubbles had improved rapidly. Lu Ming's flying speed was not fast. After he left the Dragon God Valley, his speed became even slower. He had no purpose and just flew as he pleased. If he sensed something or was thinking about something, he would stop. Sometimes, when he saw the beautiful scenery, his mood was lifted. He would stop and enjoy the beautiful scenery. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. Suddenly, Lu Ming looked ahead and his expression changed. In front of them, there was a huge fortress on a towering mountain. Lu Ming's thoughts could not help but go back to half a year ago, when he was drowned by the murderous intent. He had fought his way into a castle. That castle was the one in front of him. He didn't expect that he would come to this place again. Chapter 1561. 1561 Chapter 1561 Life form back then. Lu Ming had been completely drowned by his killing intent. He had lost all sense of self-awareness and had fallen into a frenzy of killing. Later, because of a little girl, he became a little more clear-headed and stopped killing. But it was too late. By that time, many people in this castle had already died in his hands. It was also because he had recovered a bit of his consciousness that he had some impression of this castle. Since you're here, let's go pay our respects. Lu Ming sighed slightly. The people in this castle could be said to have no grudges with him, but he had killed many of them. Lu Ming felt guilty. Lu Ming had always been a person who drew a clear line between gratitude and grudges. He would take revenge for grudges and repay kindness for kindness. He would never kill the innocent. The people he had killed were all people who had enmity with him, or wanted to kill him. Lu Ming would never have done that if he had not been influenced by his endless killing intent. At the thought of this, Lu Ming stepped forward. Who's there? This is the Lu clan's castle, stop. As they neared the castle, a few burly men flew out and stood in front of Lu Ming, looking at him warily. The Lu clan? You have the same surname as me. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He cupped his fists and said, I'm Lu Ming, a disciple of the Dragon God Valley. I heard that the Lu clan fort was attacked half a year ago, and many people were killed or injured. I'm here to pay my respects. Are you a disciple of the Dragon God Valley? The few burly men's expressions changed. That's right, this is my identity token. Lu Ming took out the Dragon God Valley identity token and handed it to the other party. The other party took a look, and his expression eased a lot. He said, so it's the disciple of Dragon God Valley. I've been disrespectful. This place was not very far from Dragon God Valley. Small forces like them were still in awe of a big sect like Dragon God Valley. My ancestors used to be friends with the Lu clan. I'm here to pay my respects when I heard the bad news about the Lu clan. Lu Ming repeated. Yes. Half a year ago, the Lu clan was suddenly attacked by a demon and suffered heavy casualties. I wonder if the demon was sent by our enemy. Young master, please follow me. One of the burly men sighed, then made a pleased gesture and walked forward. Lu Ming felt helpless. The devil that the other party was referring to was naturally him. He followed the burly man and flew for a while before arriving at the back of the castle. There were many tombstones here. Half a year ago, more than 100 people died and were all buried here. The burly man said. Lu Ming looked at the tombstones, then cupped his fists and bowed deeply. Although Lu Ming had no choice that day, it was still his fault. From now on, the Lu clan's fort's matters are Lu Ming's matters. Lu Ming muttered in his heart. Big brother, it's you? Suddenly, a crisp and tender voice sounded. Lu Ming turned around and was shocked. A young woman and a little girl of 6 or 7 years old were standing not far away. The little girl was looking at Lu Ming with her big black eyes. This little girl was the one who helped Lu Ming regain his consciousness during the massacre. The young woman was the little girl's mother. Big brother. The little girl called out again. In her large eyes, there was a hint of fear, but there was more curiosity. This little girl recognized me. Lu Ming's heart trembled. He felt that it was somewhat unbelievable. Half a year ago, when the power of the third bloodline surged in, Lu Ming's appearance was completely different from now. Back then, his eyes and hair were blood red, and his body was covered with bone spikes. He looked like a demon. Even his aura was completely different. Even a martial arts powerhouse would not be able to recognize Lu Ming. This little girl did not seem to have started cultivating. How could she recognize him? Xiang Xiang, do you know this big brother? The little girl's mother asked. The little girl nodded and didn't say much. Young madam, this is an expert from the Dragon God Valley. His ancestors used to be friends with the Lu clan. He has heard of the bad news and is here to pay his respects. The burly man explained. So you're a disciple of the Dragon God Valley. Thank you for coming to pay your respects. The young woman bowed to Lu Ming. You're welcome. Lu Ming returned the salute with cupped fists. He then looked at the little girl and said, What's your name? My name is Xiangxiang Lu Xiangxiang. The trace of fear in the little girl's eyes slowly faded. She looked at Lu Ming curiously. Xiangxiang, good name. Lu Ming said. At this moment, his eyes emitted a strange glow as he sized up the little girl. He was very curious about this little girl. How did the other party recognize him? Moreover, this little girl was able to make him recover from the killing. It was definitely not because of her young age that Lu Ming felt compassion for her. Back then, he had completely lost his mind and had no compassion. All he had was to kill. There must be another reason. Lu Ming was now casting a secret skill. This secret skill was obtained from the memory fragments of the 9 dragons. When this secret skill was used, it could roughly see a person's physique and check a person's talent. Of course, this was under the condition that the other party didn't resist with true essence at all. In Lu Ming's eyes, Lu Xiangxiang had changed. She seemed to have turned into a ball of light, a ball of dazzling radiance, filled with endless vitality. What a strange physique. What an amazing physique. After a long while, Lu Ming removed the secret skill, and his eyes were filled with surprise. A peerless genius. This little girl was simply a peerless genius. She was more talented than any other geniuses that Lu Ming had met. She was like a piece of unpolished jade that had not been carved. Even Lu Ming was shocked by the vast vitality hidden deep in his body. Could it be the legendary body of life? Lu Ming thought of a legend, and he was shocked. In this world, there were some terrifying physiques that were born from birth. It was difficult to discover them unless one had special means. However, they were universally shocking. The body of life was one of them. If it's a living body, then it can explain why the other party was able to make me regain a trace of consciousness. It can also explain why the other party was able to recognize me. Lu Ming's thoughts were flying. The body of life was astonishingly sensitive to all kinds of living creatures. As long as he could recognize a person through their life characteristics, this was a talent that outsiders could not learn. The two of you, Lu Ming has something to do, and would like to have a private chat with Xiangxiang. Is that all right? Lu Ming said to the young woman and the middle-aged man. The young woman was a little hesitant. Don't worry. I can see that Xiangxiang is very talented, and have the intention to take her as my disciple. So, I have a few questions to ask. Lu Ming explained. Take Xiangxiang as a disciple? The young woman's eyes lit up. Lu Ming was an outstanding disciple of Dragon God Valley. If Xiangxiang Bela could be her disciple, she would naturally be happy. All right, young master, please ask. The young woman hurriedly said before leaving with the large man, standing in the distance and looking over. Only Lu Ming and Xiangxiang remained at the scene. Xiang, since you know who I am, aren't you afraid of me? Don't you hate me? Lu Ming looked at Xiangxiang Bela and asked. Chapter 1562. 1562 Lu Ming's first true disciple. I'm not afraid. Xiang Bela shook her head and said, I know that Big Brother didn't do it on purpose. You didn't have a choice. That's why Xiang Bela isn't afraid of Big Brother now. She also doesn't hate Big Brother. Xiang Bela spoke. Her voice was very tender, but it was reasonable. And Big Brother thanks Xiang. Then, this matter will be a secret between the two of us. Xiang, don't tell anyone, not even your mother, okay? Lu Ming said gently. And alright, Xiang won't say it. If Xiang says it, Mother and the others will be afraid of Big Brother. Xiang Bela shook her head. Her small braids swayed, and she looked very cute. Good Xiang. Xiang. Big Brother will take you in as a disciple, and teach you martial arts. What do you think? Lu Ming smiled. To be honest, Lu Ming was really tempted to take him in as a disciple. The body of life was too shocking. If other people knew about this, countless experts would fight to take Xiang as their disciple. Even some great emperors would fight to take her as their disciple. Lu Ming did not want to miss out on such a good opportunity. Perhaps this was karma fate. Good. Xiang has long wanted to cultivate martial arts. Xiang Bela happily nodded her head. Lu Ming was overjoyed. He then nodded at the young woman in the distance, and the two of them flew over. The two of you. Lu Ming has the intention to take Xiang as his disciple, and she has agreed. Lu Ming said, Thank you, young master. Xiang, why aren't you kneeling to pay respects to master? The young woman was overjoyed. Xiang Bela pays her respects to master. Xiang Bela knelt down obediently and kowtowed to Lu Ming, acknowledging him as her master. And quickly get up. Lu Ming hurriedly helped Xiang Bela up, feeling overjoyed. Then, he stretched out his finger and touched the space between Xiang Bela's eyebrows. A ray of light flashed and disappeared. Xiang, I've passed on a cultivation technique to you. Your physique should be very suitable for this step of the cultivation technique. In the future, cultivate according to this cultivation technique. Lu Ming said. The cultivation technique that he had just passed on to Xiang was called the Universal Scripture. It was also a cultivation technique from the Nine Dragons' memory. It was very brilliant and mysterious. However, Lu Ming's physique did not match it, and he could not cultivate it at all. However, it was the best to pass it on to Xiang as a foundation. Lu Ming took Xiang as his disciple and taught her cultivation techniques. The young woman was very happy. She felt that she had become more familiar with Lu Ming and started chatting with him. Through their conversation, Lu Ming learned that the young woman's name was Lu Wanjun. Xiang's mother was the young madam of the Lu clan. Xiang's father was the young master of the Lu clan. However, he had passed away a few years ago, when he was out adventuring. Xiang Bela's grandfather was the clan head of the Lu clan fort. Back then, when Lu Ming went berserk and attacked, Xiang Bela's grandfather was in seclusion, so he managed to escape. Lu Ming secretly rejoiced. Fortunately, the person closest to Xiang Bela did not die in his hands. Otherwise, Xiang Bela might have a grudge against him. Thump, thump, thump. At that moment, a loud drum sound was heard from the Lu clan fort. It was the sound of war drums. Enemy attack, enemy attack. The Zhao family, it's the Zhao family. An anxious shout was heard as figures rushed out of the Lu clan's fort. At the same time, the entire Lu clan's fort glowed with a brilliant light as the formation was activated. Lu Wanjun and the middle-aged man's expressions changed. The Zhao clan is here again, damn it. The middle-aged man was furious. I'm afraid that they're not here with good intentions. Lu Wanjun's expression was grave. Young madam, you guys stay here. Oh, go take a look. The middle-aged man flew toward the front of the castle and met up with the other people from the Lu clan. Let's go and take a look. Let's go. Lu Ming said as he held Xiang Bela's hand and walked forward. Lu Wanjun quickly followed. There were already many figures standing in front of the Lu clan's fort. They were all experts from the Lu clan. However, Lu Ming noticed that there were not many experts at a glance. There were pitifully few high-level martial emperors above the 7th-level martial emperor realm. The leader of the group was an old man with white hair and a white beard. He seemed to be at LV8 Martial Royal Realm. Grandpa! Xiangxiang Bela called out softly as she looked at the old man. Outside the Lu clan's fort, there was a huge warship. The warship was towering and menacing, and a terrifying aura emanated from it. Buzz! A burly middle-aged man stepped out of the warship. His aura was violent and his cultivation was at LV8 Martial Royal Realm. This is Zhao Tianba, the head of the Zhao family. Lu Wanjun stood beside Lu Ming and whispered, Old Lu, I've given you a month's time. Have you thought about it? Hurry up and surrender to the Zhao family. Zhao Tianba's voice reverberated throughout the entire Lu clan fort. Don't even think about it. Xiangxiang Beila's grandfather shouted. Zhao Tianba's face darkened. If you don't surrender, it'll kill every single one of you in the Lu clan fort. Boom! The aura on Zhao Tianba's body became even more violent, and it pressed toward Xiangxiang Beila's grandfather. Xiangxiang Beila's grandfather did not give in at all, and used his aura to resist. What's going on? Lu Ming asked Lu Wanjun. Half a year ago, the Lu clan encountered a great disaster. A demon descended upon us and many high-level martial royal realm experts died in our hands. Our strength was greatly weakened. The Zhao clan took advantage of this and tried to take over the Lu clan. They came here once a month and said that they would give the Lu clan a month to consider. Otherwise, they would raze the Lu clan to the ground. Lu Wanjun explained. Lu Ming had a sudden realization. In the world of martial Dao, the strong preyed on the weak. Regardless of whether it was a large sect or a small faction, it was the same. Without strength, one would be swallowed up by other factions. Weren't the 13 top powers of the Azure continent the same? If a large number of sages in Dragon God Valley died, the Tianshan sect and other sects would immediately send people to annex Dragon God Valley. Old Lu, if the Lu family is looking for death, don't blame us. Don't think that you can stop the Zhao family with a broken formation. Zhao Tianba coldly said. Buzz! Buzz! And NBSB whoosh! One figure after another flew out of the huge warship. The moment these figures flew onto the warship and stood in front of the Lu clan's fort, their powerful auras burst forth, forming a terrifying pressure. Many of them were high-level martial royal realm experts, above the 7th level. The terrifying aura made the people from the Lu clan's fort turn pale. So many experts. Did the Zhao clan turn out in full strength? They're determined to get our Lu clan fort. Many people from the Lu clan's fort spoke out, their voices trembling. The Lu clan had suffered heavy losses. How could they fight against the Zhao clan? Boom! An old man stepped out from the crowd of the Zhao clan. His terrifying aura spread out, causing the expressions of many people from the Lu clan to turn even uglier. LV9 Martial Royal Realm. The old man from the Zhao clan was a LV9 Martial Royal Realm expert. In forces like the Lu clan and the Zhao clan, LV9 Martial Royal Realm was the peak of existence and dominated everything. The Lu clan fort had a 9th level Martial Royal Realm Grand Elder. Unfortunately, he was killed by the demon half a year ago. Lu clan, if you don't surrender, then don't even spare a chicken or a dog. The 9th level Martial Royal Realm Elder from the Zhao clan spoke coldly, as he struck his palm toward the Lu clan's castle. Chapter 1563. 1563 Take a blood oath. Then get lost. The LV9 Martial Royal Realm expert from the Zhao clan attacked with a terrifying aura. A huge palm formed and covered the sky, shrouding the entire Lu clan fort. Boom! In the end, the huge palm landed on the Lu clan's fort's defensive formation. The defensive formation shook violently, and only stabilized after a long time. It's blocked, it's blocked! Many people from the Lu clan fort were overjoyed. Their defensive formation had blocked the others' attack. How can a broken formation stop me? The 9th level Martial Royal Realm Elder from the Zhao clan said coldly. His palm glowed, and a spear appeared in his hand, emitting a terrifying sharp chi. A saint weapon? You have a saint weapon? Xiangxiang Beila's grandfather shouted in shock. Haha, it's an honor for your Lu clan to be destroyed by my holy weapon. The LV9 Martial Royal Realm Elder from the Zhao clan laughed out loud. His vital essence burst out as he thrust his long spear toward the Lu clan's castle. Whoosh! The holy weapon spear seemed to grow in size rapidly. Like a pillar that reached the sky, It stabbed heavily into the defensive formation of the Lu clan's castle. Boom! The defensive formation of the Lu clan's fort began to shake violently. Gotcha! In the end, a crack appeared on the defensive formation of the Lu clan's fort. The crack grew bigger and bigger until it finally exploded with a loud bang. The Lu clan's defensive formation had been broken. Everyone in the Lu clan fort turned as pale as a sheet. Now that there were only a few powerful cultivators in the Lu clan, how could they fight against the Zhao clan without their defensive formation? Could it be that the Lu clan fort was really going to wipe out all of them? Lu, young master Lu Ming, please wait a moment. Please take Xiangxiang away. You are a disciple of Dragon God Valley. The Zhao family would not dare to touch you. Lu Wanjin's face was pale, and she looked at Lu Ming pleadingly. She only hoped that she could save Xiangxiang's life. Lu Ming shook his head. You don't want to? Lu Wanjun was in despair. Just tell the Zhao family to get lost. Lu Ming continued to speak, and Lu Wanjun's eyes lit up. People of the Lu family, you're so stubborn. Kill. The elder at the LV9 martial royal realm from the Zhao clan broke the Lu clan's defensive formation with a single spear strike. He was overbearing and arrogant. He wielded his holy spear like a god, ready to take the lives of the Lu family members. His spear was about to strike the Lu castle. The terrifying aura made Xiangxiang Beila's grandfather, who was at the LV8 martial royal realm, feel desperate. Boom! At this moment, a stone the size of a water tank flew out of the Lu clan's fort. It flew toward the LV9 martial royal realm expert from the Zhao clan at a terrifying speed. Due to the high speed, the rock rubbed against the air and burned like a shooting star. The 9th level martial royal realm expert from the Zhao clan changed his expression. He turned his saint weapon spear around and stabbed it at the rock. Boom! The rock exploded. But the elder's body shook, and he couldn't help but retreat 3 steps. Who is it? The LV9 martial royal realm elder from the Zhao clan shouted with an unsightly expression. He was actually forced to take 3 steps back by a rock. Me! A clear voice rang out. Lu Ming rose into the air and stomped toward the 9th level martial royal realm expert from the Zhao clan. Lu Ming had casually grabbed a stone from the side and threw it out. Although it was just an ordinary stone, it contained Lu Ming's quintessential essence and chaos domain. It was as heavy as a mountain and forced the other party to take 3 steps back. Young Master Lu Ming. Lu Wanjin's face turned pale. However, on second thought, Lu Ming was a disciple of the Dragon God Valley. The Zhao family would not dare to touch him. Kid, who are you? The 9th level martial royal realm old man from the Zhao clan said coldly. You have no right to know who I am. Now I'll give the Zhao clan a chance. If you realize the blood oath, you will never invade the Lu clan fort again. Then get lost immediately. Lu Ming said calmly. Ha ha ha. Not only did his words make the 9th level martial royal realm experts from the Zhao clan laugh, but even Zhao Tianba and the other members of the Zhao clan laughed. Who is this kid? What a big tone. You actually want us to take a blood oath and then get lost. I'm afraid this kid has gone mad. What a joke. Leave this kid to me. I'll kill a LV6 martial royal realm expert with one move. The crowd from the Zhao family laughed sarcastically. Who is this person? In the Lu clan fort, many people were also looking at each other. Family head, this man is called Lu Ming. He is a disciple of Dragon God Valley. He has even taken Xiangxiang as his disciple. The middle-aged man who had led the way for Lu Ming came to Xiangxiang Beila's grandfather and reported in a low voice. Disciples of Dragon God Valley. Xiangxiang Beila's grandfather's eyes lit up. Then he sighed and said, It's a pity that his cultivation is too weak. He's only at the 6th level of the martial royal realm. However, he's a disciple of the Dragon God Valley. I don't think the Zhao family would dare to touch him. If there's a big battle later, let him take Xiangxiang away. He had the same thought as Lu Wanjun, which was to leave with Xiangxiang. The 6th level martial emperor realm was too weak to turn the tide. It seems like you guys aren't leaving? Lu Ming said calmly. Nonsense. Today. Well, make sure not a single chicken or dog is left in the Lu clan fort. No, well, leave the young woman behind. The 9th level martial royal realm expert from the Zhao clan said coldly. Sigh, I didn't want to kill anyone during this period of time. But you guys just have to send yourselves to death. Lu Ming suddenly heaved a long sigh. During this period of time, he really didn't want to kill anyone, because if he wanted to kill someone, he had to be filled with killing intent. His killing intent would grow stronger if he used his killing intent. His main goal now was to obliterate the killing intent in the depths of his soul. But now, it seemed like he had no choice but to kill. Big words, I'll kill you first. Die. The LV9 martial royal realm expert from the Zhao family shouted coldly. He wielded his holy spear and charged at Lu Ming. Be careful, Xiangxiang Beila's grandfather, Lu Wanjun, and the others couldn't help but shout. Buzz. At this moment, the black dragon spear appeared in Lu Ming's hands. A dragon's roar was heard as the black dragon spear burst out. A spear radiance clashed with the opponent's long spear. At the moment of collision, Lu Ming cast, storing power 13 strikes. The 13 attacks overlapped and exploded. The terrifying power passed through the spear and entered the man's body. The man screamed and was pushed back. He spat out a mouthful of blood. The hand that was holding the spear exploded because of the power. Now, with Lu Ming's cultivation at the 6th level of the martial emperor realm, it was very easy for him to deal with an ordinary 9th level martial emperor. Kill, die! Lu Ming shouted. A terrifying killing intent enveloped the other party. At the same time, he activated the divine sword technique and stabbed into the other party's spiritual god. Arg! The other party screamed as he felt like his soul was about to be torn apart. Whoosh! The spear radiance pierced through the void like a rainbow and pierced through the dantian of the LV9 martial royal realm elder from the Zhao clan, destroying his spiritual spirit in one fell swoop. Ah! The other party screamed and stopped breathing, his corpse falling to the ground. He was dead. A LV9 martial royal realm expert with a holy weapon was killed by Lu Ming in 2 moves. The entire place fell silent. Whether it was the people from the Zhao clan or the Lu clan, they were all dumbfounded. Chapter 1564. 1564 Chapter 1564 Deterrence. With a cultivation of LV6 martial royal realm, he had killed a LV9 martial royal realm expert with 2 moves. It was almost an instant kill. This was too shocking. He's a heaven's favorite, a peerless heaven's favorite. He must be a peerless heaven's favorite from Dragon God Valley. Xiangxiang Beila's grandfather was so excited that his entire body was trembling. He was definitely a peerless heaven's favorite, and an extremely terrifying one at that. To be honest, he had lived for so long, but he had never heard of such a person. What else could he be if not a peerless heaven's favorite? That's amazing. Young Master Lu Ming is actually so powerful? Lu Wanjun was also dumbfounded. Then, at the thought that Lu Ming had already taken Xiangxiang as his disciple, she was extremely happy. For such a genius to take Xiangxiang as a disciple, this was Xiangxiang's great fortune. Buzz! Lu Ming reached out his palm and sucked the long spear of the LV9 martial royal realm elder into his hand. Do you all still want to continue fighting? Lu Ming looked at Zhao Tianba and the rest coldly. Zhao Tianba and the others all shivered, their faces pale. Fight again? How to fight? Even the Zhao clan's most powerful great elder, a LV9 martial royal realm expert, who wielded a holy weapon, was killed by Lu Ming in 2 moves. What could they do to fight? Are you looking for death? If you don't want to fight, then make a blood oath that you will never invade the Lu clan. Let me tell you, Dragon God Valley will protect the Lu clan from now on. Lu Ming said coldly. Are you from the Dragon God Valley? Zhao Tianba spoke with great difficulty. Not bad. Lu Ming said. So it's the pride of the Dragon God Valley. We were blind to not know that the Lu clan has a connection with the Dragon God Valley. We swear now that we will never invade the Lu clan ever again. Zhao Tianba hurriedly said. Upon hearing that Lu Ming was from Dragon God Valley, Zhao Tianba had completely given up on the idea of attacking the Lu clan. Lu Ming, who was only at the 6th level of the martial royal realm, could easily kill a 9th level martial royal realm expert. Such a heaven's favorite was definitely a rare one in Dragon God Valley. His status was not to be underestimated. If they disobeyed such a person, they would not dare to invade the Lu clan's castle, even if they were given 100 times more guts. unless the Zhao clan wanted to be destroyed. At once, Zhao Tianba and the higher-ups of the Zhao clan swore a blood oath that they would never invade the Lu clan's castle again. Then, they boarded the warship and left. The people from the Lu clan's fort heaved a long sigh of relief, knowing that they had dodged a calamity. Lu Jinghao. Thank you for your help, young master Lu Ming. Xiangxiang Beila's grandfather came to Lu Ming and gave him a fist salute. Senior, you don't have to be so polite. Xiangxiang's master. So I naturally won't sit idly by. Lu Ming said with a smile. Young master Lu Ming, please come in. Lu Jinghao quickly invited Lu Ming into the Lu clan fort. Lu Ming nodded and went into the Lu clan fort with Lu Jinghao and the rest. Lu Jinghao immediately ordered the servants to prepare a banquet to celebrate Xiangxiang's apprenticeship. After the banquet, Lu Ming, Lu Jinghao, Lu Wanjun, and the higher-ups of the Lu clan sat on both sides of the hall. Of course, little Xiangxiang was beside Lu Wanjun. The higher-ups of the Lu family were overjoyed. Since Xiangxiang Beila was able to become Lu Ming's disciple, she could be considered to have established a connection with the Dragon God Valley. In the future, with the Dragon God Valley as her backing, no one would dare to touch the Lu clan's fort in this area. Xiangxiang, come here. Lu Ming looked at Xiangxiang. Xiangxiang Beila came to Lu Ming obediently. A storage ring appeared in Lu Ming's hand. He put it on Xiangxiang Beila and said, I have something to do during this period of time. I can't bring you back to Dragon God Valley to cultivate for a while. There are some spirit herbs and elixirs in here that can assist you in your cultivation. There are also some spirit weapons, inscription scrolls, and so on. You can keep them for your use. Thank you, master. Xiangxiang Beila said obediently. Yes, I will be back in a year and take you back to Dragon God Valley. With that, Lu Ming's body glowed, and he tapped the area between Xiangxiang Beila's eyebrows 3 times. I've left 3 marks on your body. Each mark has the power of a full force attack from me. If anyone tries to harm you, the mark will appear and kill them. His words made some of the Lu clan's people's hearts tremble. They knew that Lu Ming's words were meant for them. Lu Ming had just given Xiangxiang a storage ring. With his status, he would definitely not hold back. Some people would inevitably be greedy. However, his words made some people's greed disappear completely. Clan head Lu, I'll be staying at the Lu clan fort for a few days. First, I'll bring Xiangxiang to cultivate and let her join us. Second, I know a little about the Tao of inscriptions. I'll set up a large array around the Lu clan fort in the next few days. Even a half-saint won't be able to break it in a short time. Lu Ming looked at Lu Jinghao. Lu Jinghao was overjoyed. He thanked Lu Ming repeatedly. Xiangxiang, follow me. Then, Lu Ming pulled Xiangxiang Beila, took a step forward and disappeared. After a while, Lu Ming brought Xiangxiang Beila and appeared on a mountain peak not far away. Then Lu Ming's glabella glowed, and Ming Lian walked out. Xiangxiang Beila looked at the 2 identical Lu Mings in astonishment. Her dark eyes were filled with curiosity. The second clone smiled and took a step forward. He appeared around the Lu clan's castle and began to inscribe a defensive formation. He had put in so much effort because, firstly, he felt guilty towards the Lu clan. Secondly, Xiangxiang was going to stay in the Lu clan for the next year. He was also thinking about her safety. The inscription clone began to inscribe the formation, while Lu Ming took over and taught Xiangxiang Beila how to cultivate. Before Xiangxiang Beila started cultivating, her bloodline had yet to awaken. Now the first step was to help her awaken her bloodline and enter the first level of martial cultivation, the connective meridian level. Xiangxiang, sit properly and do as I say. Lu Ming instructed. Xiangxiang Beila sat cross-legged on the ground obediently. Lu Ming circulated his essential core and tapped a few hundred times around Xiangxiang Beila's body. Streams of essential core flowed into her body. After a while, Xiangxiang Beila's body started to emit a green radiance. What is this? At this moment, Lu Ming discovered a shocking scene. The grass around Xiangxiang Beila began to grow rapidly. In a short while, the grass had grown taller than Lu Ming and drowned him and Xiangxiang Beila. Lu Ming's essential core shook, and the grass turned into powder. However, there were still grass growing on the ground, and the green light on Xiangxiang Beila's body was getting stronger. Buzz! At this moment, a green ball of light flew out from Xiangxiang's spine. On the green ball of light, there were 9 golden chakras that were shining. Divine level 9th rank bloodline. This. Lu Ming was dumbfounded. This ball of light was, without a doubt, a bloodline. But wasn't this the first bloodline? How could it be a level 9 divine level expert? It had directly reached the highest level. What was going on? Lu Ming's spiritual sense entered Xiangxiang Beila's body and sensed it carefully. Amazing, it's really amazing. It seems like there's only one bloodline. Lu Ming's current cultivation level was very high. In addition to the secret skill in the 9 Dragons memory that could see through one's talent, he could naturally sense it very clearly. Xiangxiang Beila seemed to only have one bloodline. In the future, when she cultivated, she would not be like others who would awaken a second or third bloodline. No wonder she was a level 9 divine level expert the moment she appeared. Chapter 1565. 1565 Terrifying Cultivation Speed and NBSB Hu. After Xiangxiang Beila's bloodline appeared, wisps of green energy gathered around the mountain and between heaven and earth. They flowed into Xiangxiang Beila's body and began to flow through her meridians. Not long after, a ray of light shot into the sky. This is the first divine meridian. It's so fast. Lu Ming was slightly shocked. But then the second and third light beams shot out. All 3 holy pulses had been opened. Lu Ming was already speechless. This speed was too shocking. Back then, when Lu Ming had just stepped into martial arts, he had spent a lot of effort to open up his 3 divine meridians. He had even used the true war dragon technique to open them up. But now, it had only been a few minutes, and Xiangxiang Beila had already opened up all 3 divine meridians. Once the 3 holy pulses were opened, Xiangxiang Beila's cultivation naturally entered the first realm of a martial artist, the warrior realm, and she reached the first grade warrior realm. However, this was far from over. Between the heaven and earth, there was a constant flow of green energy that gushed into Xiangxiang Beila's body. Xiangxiang Beila naturally circulated her universal scripture cultivation technique to absorb and refine the energy. Her petite body was completely enveloped in a ball of green light. You've already learned how to use the universal scripture? Lu Ming was getting more and more surprised. The energy in the world was constantly being refined by Xiangxiang Beila. Her aura became stronger and stronger, and her cultivation level was also rising crazily. First grade, second grade, third grade. In less than half a day, Xiangxiang Beila's cultivation had reached the 9th grade warrior realm. Then, after a while, Xiangxiang Beila's body let out a loud sound. She had broken through to the first grade master realm. Lu Ming was already numb to it. He had just started cultivating, and in just half a day, his cultivation had already reached the 1 Dan master realm. If he had not seen it with his own eyes, he would not have believed it. Talent. This was what talent was. Lu Ming's own talent was far inferior to Xiangxiang Beila's. Lu Ming's mouth was about to split into a smile. He knew that he had picked up a treasure. This disciple's future achievements would most likely be extremely shocking. At this moment, Xiangxiang Beila's cultivation finally stopped increasing. She opened her eyes. Is this my bloodline? With a thought, Xiangxiang Beila's bloodline flew in front of her, and she started to examine it curiously. With a thought, her bloodline would fly into her spine and hide. It would then appear and hide again. She was having a lot of fun. How wonderful, my body. Xiangxiang Beila took a step forward and was a few meters away. Then green true energy spread out from her body, and grass grew under her feet. Xiangxiang, in the future, try not to reveal your bloodline and cultivation in front of others, understand? Lu Ming urged. Xiangxiang Beila's current cultivation was still weak, and if she revealed too much of her abilities, she would probably be targeted by people with ill intentions. Yes, Xiangxiang understands. Xiangxiang Beila nodded obediently. For the rest of the time, Lu Ming began to impart his cultivation experience and a few martial arts techniques that were more suitable for Xiangxiang Beila to cultivate. In the blink of an eye, 7 days had passed. Xiangxiang Beila's progress was simply too shocking. It was practically an increase of 1 realm a day. 7 days later, Xiangxiang Beila's cultivation had already reached the 7th grade master realm. However, as her cultivation level increased, Xiangxiang Beila's improvement finally slowed down. At this moment, the inscription of the secondary body array was finally completed. It was time for Lu Ming to leave. Lu Ming took Xiangxiang and returned to the Lu clan fort. He found Lu Wanjun and Lu Zhenghao and handed Xiangxiang to them. Shizuan, Xiangxiang is waiting for you to come and pick me up. Xiangxiang Beila blinked her big black eyes and looked at Lu Ming. Of course. Lu Ming touched Xiangxiang Beila's little head. He then bade farewell to Lu Zhenghao and Lu Wanjun and left the Lu clan fort. And in BSB hoo-hoo. As the wind blew on his face, Lu Ming turned into a ray of light and disappeared into the distance in the blink of an eye. After passing through the mountains, they began to see cities. Lu Ming's body shape began to change as well. He turned into an ordinary young man with dark skin. Now that evil spirit had set its eyes on him, he naturally had to be more careful on this trip. It was the safest to travel in disguise. This time, he didn't have a goal and just walked casually. Sometimes, he would feel something and sit on the top of a mountain, watching the sun rise in the east and set in the west, watching the clouds roll and relax, and the sky filled with multicolored light. He sat there for a month. During this process, he didn't cultivate. Instead, he emptied his mind and forgot everything. It was as if he was one with nature. A month later, he left the place. In the middle of a volcano, Lu Ming sat cross-legged at the mouth of the volcano. He let the flames engulf his body and wear down the killing intent in the depths of his heart and soul. He was like an old monk in meditation. Another month passed. After that, he came to a land of ice and snow. He laid down on the glacier and let the snow cover his body. But he fell asleep. This sleep lasted for another month. Just like that, Lu Ming traveled all over the Tsang region, appreciating the different sceneries. His mind and body were empty, and he became one with nature. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, a year's time was almost up. The Feng family village was a very small village with only a few dozen families. It was located in the far west of the Azure continent. In the village, in front of a wooden house, a dark-skinned young man was holding a piece of wood in his left hand and a small knife in his right hand. He was carving seriously. The knife flew in the young man's hand smoothly and harmoniously, as if it was one with nature. The wood splinters flew everywhere, and soon, a piece of wood turned into a woman, a peerless woman with the beauty to topple a country. Big brother Lu, is this your lover? It's so beautiful. A young girl, about 15 or 16 years old, with slightly dark skin, but healthy and beautiful, skipped over and looked curiously at the wooden statue in the young man's hand. This young man was naturally Lu Ming, who had traveled all over the Azure region. 3 months ago, Lu Ming had come to this small mountain village in the far west of the Azure region. This small mountain village was simple, natural, and sincere. Lu Ming liked this small mountain village very much. He settled down in this small mountain village and became a carpenter in the village. He would help the village fix the furniture, and when he had nothing to do, Lu Ming would carve some statues. Oh really? The Ling girl is also very beautiful? Lu Ming smiled faintly. The young lady in front of him was called Feng Ling. She was the granddaughter of the village chief. Lu Ming's small wooden house was located near the village chief's wooden house. As they went back and forth, Lu Ming, Feng Ling, and the village chief were very familiar with each other. Oh really? Hee hee. Feng Ling laughed excitedly, like a northern sparrow. Big brother Lu, you should also carve a statue for Feng Ling. Feng Ling looked at Lu Ming in anticipation. Alright, I'll give it to you tomorrow. Lu Ming smiled, and his gaze fell on the statue that he had just carved. The statue was Xian Yanking's appearance. The wooden statue gave off a faint fragrance that made one's mind calm and enter a state of emptiness. Chapter 1566. 1566 Chapter 1566 Phoenix Cry Phoenix Incense Wood. This small mountain village actually has so much phoenix incense wood. Lu Ming felt rather emotional. There were faint patterns on the wood. It looked like a phoenix. It was a very precious spirit wood, phoenix incense wood. The phoenix incense would emit a faint fragrance. Martial cultivators often carried it with them. It could calm one's heart and prevent inner demons from forming. It was very helpful for cultivation comprehension. Although it couldn't be compared to the path understanding ancient tree, it was still a very precious treasure. This small village actually had a lot of such spiritual wood. Some villagers even used it to make some furniture. It could be said to be extravagant. As a carpenter, Lu Ming had collected quite a lot of phoenix incense wood. He carved them into statues, accessories, and other items, planning to give them to his friends and family in the future. They would be of great help to his cultivation. The 1-year period is almost up. In a few days, I should leave and return to Dragon God Valley, Lu Ming thought to himself. He liked his life in this small mountain village very much. It was a memorable day, but he had to leave in the end. He didn't belong here. After nearly a year, Lu Ming had completely erased the killing intent in the depths of his soul. Now his eyes were warm and pure, like a clear spring. In the past year, he had never deliberately cultivated. However, his cultivation base was still slowly rising. Now his cultivation had reached the peak of the 6th level martial royal realm, and his chaotic domain had also reached the peak of the 6th level. This year, he did not deliberately try to comprehend the chaos domain, but it was not like he did not gain anything. He felt that he was in perfect harmony with heaven and earth. As for the chaos realm, it was also comprehended from nature. He felt that as long as he spent some time, he would be able to upgrade the chaos realm to level 7. Moreover, because of his compatibility with nature, he would definitely be able to comprehend the chaos realm faster than before. Little brother Lu Lingling, it's time to eat. A slightly aged voice sounded. It was the voice of the village chief, Grandpa Feng Ling. "I'm coming, Grandpa." Feng Ling responded and pulled Lu Ming. "Big brother Lu, let's go and eat. Grandpa has prepared a few bottles of good wine today." Lu Ming put away Xianyang's statue and followed Feng Ling into the village chief's small courtyard. "Little girl, you want to drink again?" A white-haired old man in his 60s looked at Feng Ling kindly and scolded her with a smile. "Grandpa, I'll just drink a little, just a little." Feng Ling ran in front of the old man, pulled his arm, and shook it hard. "Good, good, you little girl." The old man patted Feng Ling's little head lovingly. The three of them sat down, and the village chief poured 3 cups of wine for them to eat and drink. Buzz! Right at this moment, a bird's cry rang out from the distance, reverberating through the entire world. The 3 of them couldn't help but look towards the north. It's calling again. The phoenix is calling again. It's been half a month. I'm afraid this area will not be peaceful anymore. The village chief sighed. "Grandpa, is there really a divine phoenix in the heavenly wind plains?" Feng Ling asked curiously. "That's right. According to the ancient legends, there is indeed a divine phoenix in the heavenly wind plains." The village chief said. "Grandpa, why do I hear the phoenix cry like it's wailing in pain and despair?" Feng Ling said. "I feel the same way. I don't know what happened. I hope nothing happened." The village chief sighed, seemingly deeply worried. "A divine bird phoenix?" Lu Ming's gaze was also directed to the north. He frowned slightly. The Heavenly Wind Plains was one of the 6 forbidden areas of the Tsang region, and this small village was not far from the Heavenly Wind Plains. According to the village chief, the phoenix incense wood was blown out from the Heavenly Wind Plains. However, since half a month ago, the cries of phoenixes could be heard from time to time in the Heavenly Wind Plains. They were filled with despair and unwillingness. Buzz! Buzz! In the northern sky, a few rainbows flashed. Finally, a martial arts powerhouse has been attracted here. The village chief sighed as he also saw the rainbow lights. Soon, the 3 of them finished eating and drinking, and night fell. In the night sky, Lu Ming stood in midair, looking into the north. Buzz! And NBSB whoosh! In the northern sky, rainbow lights would flash across the sky from time to time like meteors. Each rainbow light was a martial arts master. Lu Ming took a look and returned to the wooden house to rest. In the next few days, the cries of phoenixes continued to ring out, and more experts arrived. They could even see groups of powerhouses whistling through the sky. The phoenix had been chirping nonstop for half a month, so there must be something unusual. When the nearby experts heard the news, they would naturally dare to come and check. On the morning of the third day, Lu Ming rose into the air and flew north. Very soon, Lu Ming arrived at the outskirts of the breezy plains. It was a spectacular sight to see the heavenly wind plains from high up in the sky. The heavenly wind plain was filled with endless gales. Tornadoes as large as mountain ranges were howling in the heavenly wind plain, moving and breaking through the sky. There were countless giant tornadoes in the vast skygale plain. These tornadoes were so terrifying that even a saint would be cut into pieces if he were to enter. There had been many saints who had wanted to go in and explore, but they had all died inside. That was why the heavenly wind plains was known as one of the 6 forbidden areas of the Tsang state. However, the strange thing was that the tornadoes seemed to only move within a certain range, and would not leave that range. The area outside the breezy plains was very calm, as if they were in 2 different worlds. Outside the heavenly wind plain, many people were standing in the air, looking at the plain, but no one dared to enter. The people from the Desire Poison sect and the Heaven God sect. Lu Ming muttered. He discovered that among the experts who came here, the Yudu sect and the Tianshan sect had the most people. This was also within reason. The Yudu sect and the Tianshan sect were located in the western part of the Tsang region and were the closest to this place. Naturally, the number of people who rushed here was the highest. There were also some scattered experts from small forces. At that moment, some uninvited guests arrived in the small mountain village. These were a few burly men who were floating above the village chief's wooden house. Their expressions were haughty, and their powerful auras enveloped the village chief and Feng Ling, causing their bodies to feel as if they were being pressed down by a huge mountain. From their clothes, they were obviously from the Tianshan sect. "Old man, I'll ask you a few questions. Answer me honestly." A middle-aged man with cold and arrogant eyes looked down at the village chief and said in a commanding tone, Yes, my lords, if there's anything you want to ask, just ask. This old man will definitely tell you everything he knows." The village chief hurriedly bowed and nodded. The village chief had lived for a long time, so he naturally knew how to deal with people. These people had strong cultivation, and they were at least at the martial emperor realm. Although their small village also cultivated, the village chief had the strongest cultivation, and he was only at the spiritual god realm. In front of these emperors, the village chief naturally had to be respectful. Chapter 1567. 1567 Chapter 1567 Stealing. Someone's tablet. The arrogant middle-aged man seemed to be satisfied with the village chief's attitude. He nodded and said, "Since you live here, do you know when the phoenix's cry in the heavenly wind plains started?" "About half a month ago. It was very loud, but now it seems to be getting weaker and weaker." The village chief answered honestly. "Oh, half a month ago. Do you have any legends about the heavenly wind plains in your village? Tell me in detail." The icily arrogant middle-aged man ordered. The village chief told him about the legend of the breezy plains in detail. After the village chief finished speaking, the few heaven god sect disciples frowned and pondered. Then, their eyes swept across the village chief's courtyard, hoping to find some clues. All of a sudden, the middle-aged man's eyes lit up. He took a step forward and appeared in front of a chair in the courtyard. After taking a closer look, he revealed a surprised expression. "Phoenix incense wood. This is actually made of phoenix incense wood. To actually make a chair out of phoenix incense wood, this is simply a waste of God's gift." With that, he waved his hand and kept the chair. The other middle-aged men were envious as they looked around. "That stool is also made of phoenix incense wood. And this bamboo steamer is also made of phoenix incense wood." The middle-aged men's eyes lit up, and their bodies flickered as they collected all the items. "Haha, the bed inside too." The arrogant youth laughed, and was about to rush into the room. "Hey, how can you guys be like this? That's my bed. If you take it away, where will I sleep?" Feng Ling couldn't help but call out. "What did you just say?" The icily arrogant middle-aged man turned around, and a powerful aura pressed down on Feng Ling. Feng Ling's body trembled, and she retreated continuously, blood flowing out of her mouth. However, Feng Ling was extremely stubborn, and was about to speak again. The village chief quickly went forward and stopped Feng Ling. He cupped his fists towards the few burly men of the heavenly god sect and said, "My lords, please forgive me. My granddaughter is still young and insensible. My lords are all heroic figures. Please don't lower yourself to her level. Keep her mouth shut, or she won't even know how she died." The icily arrogant middle-aged man said coldly. The village chief naturally agreed. The icily arrogant middle-aged man walked into the room and kept Feng Ling's bed. Bang! And MBSB at this moment, a wooden house in another part of the village collapsed, sending dust and smoke into the air. A few green-robed youths took away a wooden pillar. Obviously, other than the few men from the heavenly god sect, there were other people who had come to the village and found the phoenix incense wood. There's still more in the other houses. Let's go. Don't let the people from the desire poison sect finish taking them. When the few burly men of the heaven god sect saw this, they immediately rushed to the houses of the other villagers. In their eyes, this village was simply a treasure trove. They had to plunder it clean before anyone else discovered it. A few burly men from the heaven deity sect rushed to the houses of the other villagers and started plundering them wantonly. Any villagers who tried to stop them would be sent flying with a slap. "Grandpa, what kind of big sect are these disciples from? They're like bandits." Feng Ling was indignant. "Sigh, the world of martial Dao has always been the law of the jungle." Village chief sighed, and in the next moment his expression suddenly changed as he shouted, "No, that's the ancestral hall." After saying that, the village chief hurriedly rushed towards the largest stone house, and Feng Ling quickly followed. At this moment, the few burly men of the heaven god sect, and a few green-robed young men, had already arrived in front of the stone house. Those memorial tablets inside are actually all phoenix incense wood. "We're rich, we're rich." A burly man from the heaven god sect cried out in surprise. "That's ours." The green-robed young men's eyes lit up. "Don't even think about it, we found it first," the cold and arrogant middle-aged man from the heavenly god sect said. The few of them strode forward and were about to rush into the stone house. My lords, please wait." The village chief rushed over and blocked the stone house. He bowed and paid his respects. "Old man, what are you doing? Get lost." The cold and arrogant middle-aged man berated. "My lords, inside are the memorial tablets of my village's ancestors. Please don't take them away. I'm begging you." The village chief immediately knelt down and kowtowed repeatedly. In the stone house, there were the memorial tablets of the village's ancestors. Other things could be taken away, but he could not let others take away the memorial tablets. Otherwise, how would he have the face to face his ancestors? "You old fart, get lost." The icily arrogant middle-aged man kicked out and sent the village chief flying. The wall of the stone house was smashed into pieces. The village chief sprawled on the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. "Grandpa!" Feng Ling shouted and rushed towards the village chief to help him up. Seeing that the village chief was only injured, she was relieved. She then glared at the cold and arrogant burly man and the others, scolding. "I can't believe you're the disciples of a big sect. You're no different from bandits. No, you're even worse than bandits. You even want to snatch the memorial tablets of other people's ancestors. Little slut, what did you say? You're looking for death." The icily arrogant middle-aged man's body emitted an icy cold killing intent. He took a step forward and appeared in front of Feng Ling, sending a slap towards her. The icily arrogant middle-aged man had already used some of his strength in this slap. With Feng Ling's cultivation base, she would definitely die from this slap. However, the arrogant middle-aged man's palm was caught by a large hand halfway. A dark-faced young man had appeared in front of Feng Ling, without her noticing, and grabbed the icily arrogant middle-aged man's wrist. The black-faced young man was Lu Ming. Just now, he had gone to the outskirts of the Windy Plains to check out the situation. He had not found anything unusual, so he returned to the village. He did not expect to see this scene. "Big brother Lu," Feng Ling called out subconsciously. "I'm sorry I'm late." Lu Ming nodded to Feng Ling and the village chief. "Brat, you dare to stop me? You're courting death." The arrogant middle-aged man saw that the person who was holding him was a black-faced young man who looked very ordinary. In addition to the conversation between Lu Ming and Feng Ling, he thought that Lu Ming was from this small village. He immediately roared and his killing intent burst out. Boom! The essential core in his body exploded, trying to break Lu Ming's palm. However, Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. He clenched his fist, and a terrifying force rushed towards the other party. And NBSB kacha kacha. In an instant, the icily arrogant middle-aged man's true energy was scattered. The bones in his arm were broken inch by inch, like a piece of mud. My hand! The icily arrogant middle-aged man screamed in pain. Bang! Lu Ming grabbed the cold and arrogant middle-aged man's arm, lifted him up, and threw him heavily on the ground, as if he was a broken sack. The ground trembled as the arrogant middle-aged man smashed a human-shaped hole in the ground. Lying in the hole, he coughed out a large mouthful of blood. All the bones in his body were broken, and he was like a pool of mud. On the side, the other burly men of the Heavenly God sect and the green-robed young man were stunned for a moment. Then, a few of the burly men of the Heavenly God sect shouted crazily, "Brat, you dare to hit the people of my Tianshan sect. You're looking for death. I'm going to skin you alive. You're too noisy," Lu Ming said coldly. He moved his body, and then heard banging sounds and shrill screams. When Lu Ming reappeared, the people from the deity sect and the green-robed young man were all lying on the ground wailing. They were stacked on top of each other, and it was unknown how many bones in their bodies had been broken. Their storage rings were all in Lu Ming's hands. Chapter 1568. 1568 Chapter 1568 Kill one. If they come, I'll spare your lives today. Next time I'll definitely kill you. Lu Ming spoke with a cold killing intent. Then he kicked out. The 5 or 6 people from the deity sect and the desire poison sect were sent flying like a ball. They disappeared into the sky and flew for an unknown distance. If not for the small village, Lu Ming would have already killed these people. At the side, the village chief and Feng Ling were dumbfounded. It was only then that they realized that Lu Ming, who had lived with them for 3 months, was also an unfathomable expert. "Village chief, are you all right?" Lu Ming asked. "It's nothing serious. Sigh, I'm just afraid that these people will come back." The village chief sighed. "If they come again, I'll kill them one by one." Lu Ming's eyes flashed with a sharp glint. Then, Lu Ming passed the storage rings that he had obtained from the Heaven God sect and the Yudu sect to the village chief. However, the village chief did not dare to take out the villagers' furniture for fear that other experts would see them and bring trouble to himself. The village chief even walked into the ancestral hall and put away those memorial tablets. As for Lu Ming, he sat down on a chair in the village chief's courtyard and waited quietly. There was a small mountain peak outside the sky and wind plains. A few young men in white robes stood with their hands behind their backs and looked into the distance. "Those guys are getting more and more daring. I told them to go to the small village to inquire about the situation, but they haven't returned yet." One of the young men said coldly, "Wait for a while more. If he hasn't returned, you guys go and check." The young man in the middle seemed to be the leader of the group. Soon, a few hours had passed, and a few middle-aged men were flying towards the mountain peak in a hurry. These middle-aged men were the people who had gone to the small mountain village just now. Although they had all their bones broken by Lu Ming, they were all martial emperors and had extremely strong vitality. They had recovered a little by now and had rushed over. "What's going on?" The young man in the lead swept his gaze around and discovered that a few of the burly men were injured. A sharp glint flashed through his eyes. "Young Master Luo, you have to seek justice for us. We found the phoenix incense wood in that small village. We wanted to bring it to show our respect to young Master Luo, but there was an expert in that small village. Not only did he refuse to give it to us, but he also beat us up. He was so arrogant that he didn't even put our Tianshan sect in his eyes." The cold and arrogant middle-aged man shouted, "Phoenix incense wood? That small village has phoenix incense wood?" The eyes of young Master Luo and the other young men lit up. "That's right, there's indeed phoenix incense wood, and there's quite a lot of it." The arrogant middle-aged man said, People from a small village actually dare to hit the people of my Tianshan sect. You're really looking for death. Let's go. Young Master Luo shouted coldly, and with a few other young men and middle-aged men, he flew towards the small village in an aggressive manner. Nearby, the others saw this and revealed curious expressions. The people of the Heavenly God sect are so aggressive. What do they want to do? Could it be that someone has offended the Tianshan sect? Look at the direction they're heading. It seems to be that small village. Interesting, let's go and take a look. Let's go and take a look. There were quite a few people in the vicinity, and they followed young Master Luo and the others towards the small village. In the small village, in the village chief's courtyard, Lu Ming was sitting on a chair, resting with his eyes closed. The village chief and Feng Ling, on the other hand, seemed rather anxious. They were afraid of the revenge of the Tianshan sect. Suddenly, Lu Ming opened his eyes and said coldly, "They're here." The village chief's face paled. Buzz! And NBSB whoosh! From the north, young Master Luo and the others stepped on the air and arrived above the village chief's courtyard. They looked down at Lu Ming and the rest. "You are the one who injured the people of my Heavenly God sect." Young Master Luo glared at Lu Ming coldly. "Not bad." Lu Ming replied indifferently. "It's fine if it's you. Take your own life, so that I don't have to do it." Young Master Luo said coldly. Hee. He sneered, and was too lazy to answer young Master Luo's question. Instead, he looked at the middle-aged men behind young Master Luo and said, "I just said that if you come again I'll kill you. It seems that you didn't take my words seriously." Brat, don't be so arrogant. You're the one who's going to die today." The arrogant middle-aged man shouted. "Is that so?" Lu Ming's eyes glowed even more sharply. "You're looking for death. Kill." Young Master Luo said in a cold voice. A cold killing intent burst out from his body. His powerful aura burst out and enveloped the entire village. Lu Ming actually dared to ignore him. A lowly ant from a small village actually dared to ignore him. He was a heaven's favorite of the Divine Sky sect, with a cultivation at the peak of the 6th level of the Martial Royal Realm. The aura of the peak LV6 Martial Emperor Realm enveloped the entire village. The huge pressure even made some villagers kneel down in fear. "I'm telling you, I'm not from this village. If you need anything, just look for me. It has nothing to do with the villagers." Lu Ming said coldly. "Unrelated? I'm telling you, not only will you die today, but all these lowly ants will die." Young Master Luo said coldly. Boom! A huge palm condensed and descended from the sky. It was as if it covered the sky and the sun, enveloping the entire village. He wanted to flatten this village with a single palm strike. Boom! At this moment, Lu Ming was furious. He was completely furious. An extremely cold killing intent burst out. He had been tolerating them because he was worried about the villagers. Previously, he had not killed those middle-aged men because he was worried about the villagers. But now it seemed that for a sect like the Tianshan sect, it was useless to be patient. They could only kill. Kill until the other party was afraid, and then they would naturally retreat. Boom! Lu Ming threw a punch and a fist force soared into the sky, shattering the huge palm print. Lu Ming stepped into the air and charged towards young Master Luo and the rest. His powerful aura pressed down on the other party. "I've already given you a chance. You're the ones who are seeking death," Lu Ming said coldly. "Peak LV6 Martial Royal Realm? No wonder you're so arrogant. But let me tell you, there's a world of difference in combat strength between the same level of cultivation," young Master Luo said. A spear of divine punishment appeared in his hand. He took a step forward and thrust the spear at Lu Ming. However, he was met with Lu Ming's punch. The punch was destructive. When it hit the spear of God punishment, the spear of God punishment was shattered. The terrifying fist force broke young Master Luo's defense and hit his dantian, penetrating it. Young Master Luo's eyes widened in disbelief. He couldn't understand how an ordinary young man he met in a small village could be so terrifying. He was at the same level as him, but he killed him in one move. He was a heaven's chosen of the Tianshan sect. How dare you?" The other young men and the middle-aged men were so scared that their faces turned pale, and they stuttered. This dark-skinned young man had killed young Master Luo with one punch. Chapter 1569. 1569 Chapter 1569 Meeting Acquaintances Kill. Lu Ming shouted coldly. His eyes were like lightning, and his killing intent was like a knife as he charged at the other young men. The fist radiance seemed to be able to crush everything. The few young men were killed before they could even scream. Then, his cold gaze swept over the few middle-aged men. The few middle-aged men were covered in cold sweat, and their faces were pale. "Spare me, spare me." The arrogant middle-aged man was the first to kneel down, his body trembling. "I've said it before, if you come again I'll kill you. But you didn't take my words to heart, so you're asking for death." Lu Ming said coldly, and then smacked his palm down. The middle-aged men were only low-level royal realm martial artists. How could they stop him? They were killed by a single palm. What a domineering method! Not far away, there were other people who had come to watch the show. At this time they were also amazed. No one had expected that a person from a small village would be so bold and powerful. He had killed the people of the Heavenly God sect, including a few Heaven's Pride experts, with such a crushing force. There's going to be a good show. There are more than a few people from the Heavenly God sect. I'm afraid that many experts have gone crazy. That's right. It won't be long before the people of the Heavenly God sect come to kill us. These people discussed and retreated. They're all dead. The village chief was dumbfounded, and then he was worried. He had killed so many people from the Heavenly God sect. The Heavenly God sect would definitely come for revenge. What should he do? Village chief was worried. "Village chief, do you have any intention of moving to another place to live?" Lu Ming asked. This small village was too weak. In this world of martial Tao, it could be destroyed at any time. Just like today, if it was not for Lu Ming, Fengling would most likely have been killed. In that case, it would be difficult for the village chief to survive. In the end, if he angered the cold and arrogant middle-aged man and the others, the entire village would also be destroyed. This was because the village didn't have a powerful martial force, but it had phoenix incense wood. In the past, it hadn't been discovered, but now that it had been discovered, it was only a matter of time before it was destroyed. This was the sorrow of the weak. "Grandpa, let's leave this place," Fengling advised. "Sai, we also want to leave, but in the Tsang region, there are powerful beasts everywhere. Even one emperor-level beast can easily destroy our village. But here, we are close to the Heavenly Wind Plains. The Heavenly Wind Plains has a phoenix that can scare away all the beasts, so we are safe. As for those big cities, we have to spend a large number of raw gemstones to live in them. We don't have that many raw gemstones." The village chief sighed. It wasn't that they didn't want to leave, but they had nowhere to go. "Village chief, I have a Grotto Heaven treasure. You can enter the Grotto Heaven treasure first. After that, I'll bring you to a place," Lu Ming said after a moment of silence. There were only a few dozen families in this village. Lu Ming planned to send them to the Lu clan's fort. The Lu clan's fort was extremely spacious. A small piece of land was enough to house a few dozen families. An estate world treasure. The village chief revealed a shocked expression. It seemed like this little brother Lu in front of him had an astonishing background. "All right, I'll call the villagers over. I'll have to trouble you later, Brother Lu." The village chief bowed to Lu Ming, and then hurried away to call the other villagers. Lu Ming waved his hand, and all the villagers were kept into the mountain and river diagram. Then Lu Ming sat there and waited quietly. At this moment, the news of an impressive villager killing a few Heaven's Pride experts of the Heavenly God sect had already spread in the outskirts of the Heavenly Wind Plains. The Heavenly God sect will definitely take revenge on such powerful villagers. Let's go and take a look. Let's go. As the rainbow light whistled, one figure after another came to the small village and stood around it. And no one. Could he have already escaped? No, there's one person. Many people's gazes swept across and finally landed on Lu Ming. Senior brother, senior sister. Lu Ming swept his gaze across the crowd and actually found someone familiar. Tianshui and Xuanixin. The Dragon God Valley was quite far from here. He didn't expect that Tianshui and Xuanixin would also appear here. Tianshui and Xuanixin, like the others, stood at a distance and sized Lu Ming up curiously. That is, Mo Yang. Mo Yang actually came. What a beautiful woman. Who is that woman? There was a sudden commotion in the crowd, and everyone looked in one direction. In that direction, there were about a dozen people. There were 2 young men and women, and a dozen old men and men. All of them had extremely powerful auras and demonic qi. Nianqing. Lu Ming's eyes lit up when he saw one of them. The most beautiful woman among the 2 young men and women was actually Xian Yanqing. The other person was Mo Yang, one of the top 10 geniuses of the Azure continent. Lu Ming's gaze landed on Xian Yanqing, and Xian Yanqing looked back at him at the same time. When their eyes met, Xian Yanqing was slightly stunned. Then, a smile appeared in her eyes and she winked at Lu Ming. He had been recognized. Lu Ming smiled. He was too familiar with Xian Yanqing. No matter how much a person changed his appearance, his aura and appearance could change, but the look in his eyes would never change. Clearly, Xian Yanqing recognized Lu Ming through his eyes. Lu Ming shook his head slightly at Xian Yanqing, who nodded in return. What Lu Ming meant was not to reveal his identity for the time being. Xian Yanqing naturally understood Lu Ming's intention. Besides Xian Yanqing, Mo Yang seemed to have noticed Xian Yanqing's unusual behavior. He looked at Lu Ming with a cold and suspicious look in his eyes. The people of the Heavenly God sect are here, someone exclaimed. In the distance, there were at least a few dozen figures flying over. All of them were dressed in white robes and had powerful auras. There were young, middle-aged and old people. The person at the front was bathed in holy light, like a myriad of stars surrounding the moon. Thank you. Lu Ming recognized this person at one glance. A year and a half ago, Yu Sheng had been the leader of the Tianshan sect during the treasure auction. He was extremely talented and had amazing combat strength. A year and a half later, Yu Sheng had become even stronger. His powerful aura filled the air and was extremely terrifying. The early stage of LV8 Martial Royal Realm. This was Yu Sheng's cultivation base. Clearly, he had made rapid progress in the past 1.5 years. The people of the Heavenly God sect stood in the sky above the village. Their eyes swept across the village and finally landed on Lu Ming. So you're the one who killed the Heaven's Pride expert of my Heavenly God sect? Yu Sheng said coldly. Not bad. Lu Ming replied indifferently. You're really audacious. You're simply courting death. Where are the other villagers? Where have you hidden them? Hand them all over and die. A middle-aged man beside Yu Sheng shouted. He exuded the aura of a peak LV7 Martial Royal Realm. Hehe, as expected of a large sect. So impressive, so domineering. A disciple of the sect came to this remote mountain village to bully ordinary villagers, and even try to steal an ancestor's memorial tablet. As expected of the #1 sect in the Azure region, Lu Ming sneered. His tone was full of ridicule, especially the self-address. Chapter 1570. 1570. He is Lu Ming. Lu Ming's words made everyone from the Heavenly God sect look extremely ugly. What? He actually stole someone else's tablet? You are indeed a disciple of the Tianshan sect. It's so embarrassing. Such a sect can actually be as famous as my Dragon God Valley. I spit. A deep voice resounded. It was Tian Shui. Since the last treasure auction, the relationship between Dragon God Valley and Tianshan sect had worsened. Now that he had the opportunity, Tian Shui naturally wanted to ridicule them. Nonsense. Brat, you dare to slander my Tianshan sect. Today, I will make you beg for death. The burly man at the peak of the 7th level Martial Emperor realm roared and stepped forward. He clawed with his hand and a huge khaki hand formed in the sky, grabbing toward Lu Ming. A small knife appeared in Lu Ming's hand. It was the knife he used to carve the statue. Whoosh! Lu Ming threw the knife. The small knife seemed to have turned into a bolt of lightning, piercing through the big yellow hand, and then continued to rush towards the big man. The big man's face changed. A giant axe appeared in his hand, and he chopped at the small knife. Clang! The huge axe hit the small knife, and the knife was sent flying. It returned to Lu Ming's hand. The burly man's body shook violently, and he took 5 to 6 steps back. He spat out a mouthful of blood. What? Many onlookers' expressions changed drastically as they looked at Lu Ming in shock. They could clearly see that the small knife that Lu Ming had thrown out was definitely an ordinary small knife, an extremely ordinary spirit weapon. However, such a small knife that was casually thrown out had actually forced a 7th level peak martial emperor back, and made him spit out blood. This kind of power was too terrifying. They did not know that Lu Ming's attack was covered by a level 6 chaos domain. It was as heavy as a mountain. How difficult would it be to injure an ordinary 7th level martial emperor? Who are you? Yu Xing said with a serious expression. He didn't believe that a small village on the border would have such an expert. He's just a carpenter from a small village. Lu Ming replied indifferently. Everyone looked at each other. A carpenter? It was actually so powerful. You're just pretending. Let's see how long you can keep up this act. Kill. An elder stepped out with the spear of divine punishment in his hand, and stabbed it at Lu Ming. Whoosh. The other expert made his move as well. A terrifying sword light was aimed at Lu Ming's head. The two of them were both at the LV8 martial royal realm. They were working together to kill Lu Ming in one move. Kill. Lu Ming shouted. He took a heavy step and soared into the sky, avoiding the sword light, and throwing a punch. Boom. And NBSB, the spear of God punishment from the old man, shattered. But the fist energy didn't stop, and continued to bombard the old man. The old man screamed as his body was torn apart. A LV8 martial royal realm expert was killed by Lu Ming in one move. Whoosh. Then, Lu Ming flipped his hand, and threw the knife in his hand at another person who attacked. The man was shocked and tried to block the attack with his sword. However, the powerful force on the knife numbed his arm. At this moment, Lu Ming was already charging at him. Boom. With a single punch, heaven and earth trembled. The man's body was directly penetrated, and his body flew a few thousand meters away. He fell heavily on the ground, and no longer had any breath. Many people gasped at the sight of him killing 2 LV8 martial royal realm experts in an instant. He's so powerful. His cultivation is only at the peak of the 6th level martial royal realm. But he has such powerful combat strength. He killed 2 LV8 martial royal realm experts in an instant. He's comparable to a top heaven's favorite. Could this person be a top-notch heaven's favorite? The people in the surroundings were discussing and speculating. You're looking for death. Yu Sheng's eyes were extremely cold. He stepped out, and holy light filled the air. A terrible pressure pressed down on Lu Ming. Many people thought that Yu Sheng was going to make a move. Yu Sheng was a heaven's favorite with a superior great earth spiritual body. His combat strength was terrifying. Although he was also at LV8 martial royal realm, his combat strength was many times stronger than the previous two. Yu Sheng would probably be able to kill the two of them in one move. Kill. Yu Sheng shouted coldly. He also condensed a spear of divine punishment in his hand, and stabbed it at Lu Ming. The spear of divine punishment was incomparably sharp and powerful. It was far from what that person had been able to compare with. Boom. Lu Ming's method of fighting was still very simple. He simply threw a punch. A terrifying vibration was heard. The spear of God's punishment in Yu Sheng's hand was shaking violently, as if it would collapse at any moment. The terrifying power continued to rush toward Yu Sheng, causing his expression to change. Boom. Following that, Lu Ming's other hand also punched out. Yu Sheng's expression changed. He struck out with his other palm, and collided with Lu Ming's fist. There was another loud boom. Yu Sheng's face turned pale, and he retreated quickly. In a head-on confrontation, he was actually suppressed by Lu Ming. A year and a half ago, Lu Ming was able to kill a genius like Yu Sheng even though his cultivation was 2 levels lower than Yu Sheng's. Now, Lu Ming's cultivation was at the peak of the 6th level martial emperor realm, while Yu Sheng was at the early stage of the 8th level martial emperor realm. The difference was less than 2 levels. Kill, die. Lu Ming shouted as his fists flew towards Yu Sheng. Yu Sheng let out a long roar, and burst out with holy light. He used all his strength to fight Lu Ming. The two of them exchanged more than a dozen moves, and Yu Sheng was forced to retreat. Let's attack together. Let's join forces and kill this person. The rest of the people from the Heavenly God sect shouted, and rushed forward to surround Lu Ming. Kill. Lu Ming let out a long roar. A dragon's roar sounded from within his body. With a loud shout, the divine sword technique burst out. The people who were charging at Lu Ming screamed in pain, as if their souls were being torn apart. The black dragon spear appeared in Lu Ming's hand. With a shake of the spear, rays of spear radiance shot out like lightning. More than 10 powerhouses of the Tianxin sect were killed by Lu Ming in an instant. Lu Ming, he's Lu Ming. Yu Sheng's eyes widened as he roared. What? He's Lu Ming? Kill him. Use your saint weapon. The remaining people of the heavenly god sect shouted. Buzz! And MBSB whoosh. A few of them exuded a powerful aura, and a few saint weapons appeared, shining with terrifying light. It's actually Lu Ming. Kill him. Not far away, some of the Yudu sect's powerhouses had also taken out their holy weapons and were charging at Lu Ming. And NBSB at this moment, the nearby spectators were stunned. Lu Ming? This person was Lu Ming? The Lu Ming whose name had spread throughout the Azure region a year and a half ago. The Lu Ming who wanted to challenge the Divine Sun in the next treasure-fixing assembly? He was actually hiding here, in a small mountain village on the border. It's junior brother Lu Ming. Attack. Kill. Tian Shui and Xuaningxin were stunned for a moment before they roared and charged forward. Their saint weapons also flew out from their hands. Boom. Boom. A few experts of the heavenly god sect were directly killed. Tian Shui and Xuaningxin's cultivation had also progressed very quickly. They had both stepped into the LV8 martial royal realm, which was the early stage of the LV8, just like Yu Sheng. With their cultivation, how powerful would they be when they controlled holy weapons? Chapter 1571. 1571 How thick-skinned people of the Sky Demon sect attack and stop the Desire Poison sect. On the other side, Xian Yinqing ordered. Junior sister, what are you doing? Mo Yang shouted. Attack! Xian Yinqing spoke again, his face cold. Yes, holy maiden. The others responded, and together with Xian Yinqing, they charged towards the Desire Poison sect. Tianyu Demon sect, what are you doing? Are you trying to go against my Desire Poison sect? The members of the Desire Poison sect all roared in anger. However, Xian Yinqing's face was cold. A black lotus floated above his head and pressed down. Some of the Yudu sect's powerhouses spat out blood and retreated. Xian Yinqing's cultivation had already reached the peak of LV7 martial royal realm. His progress was amazing. The black lotus was clearly a holy weapon. Although the other members of the Tianyu demonic sect didn't want to attack, they could only obey the saint's orders. Mo Yang stood not far away, his face cold. He did not make a move, but the experts from the Desire Poison sect were terrified. Mo Yang was one of the top 10 geniuses of the Tsang prefecture. His cultivation had long broken through to the half-saint realm. If he were to attack, they would be in danger. Retreat, retreat first. The Yudu sect's expert roared. He began to defend while retreating, no longer having the heart to fight. Meanwhile, Lu Ming had already unleashed his black wings and charged towards the Tianxin sect. His black dragon spear had grown to 1,000 meters long. He struck out with the spear and sent a holy weapon flying. At the same time, the black dragon spear stabbed out like lightning, killing an expert at the peak of the 8th level martial royal realm. Then, the black wings slashed out like blades, killing a LV7 martial royal realm and a LV8 martial royal realm expert. As for Tian Shui and Xuaningxin, they also displayed their godly might. Tian Shui's giant hammer was now a saint weapon, and every swing of his hammer was extremely powerful. Even a saint weapon would be knocked away by his hammer, and with a single swing, it would be either dead or injured. Xuaningxin, on the other hand, was controlling a 7-colored holy weapon, which was also very powerful. Although there were only 3 of them, Lu Ming and the rest had suppressed the many experts of the heavenly god sect. People were being killed continuously. Let's go. In the end, Yu Sheng let out a loud roar and took the rest of the people with him. They turned around and fled at top speed, leaving more than 20 corpses behind. Lu Ming and the other 2 didn't pursue them. The remaining people were at the 9th level of the martial royal realm and had holy weapons. They were determined to escape, so it wouldn't be easy to kill them. Ha ha ha, junior brother, so you're here. You've disappeared without a trace this year. And I haven't heard any news about you. Tian Shui put away his giant hammer and gave Lu Ming a heavy pat, laughing out loud. I was about to return to Dragon God Valley. I didn't expect to meet my senior brothers and sisters here. Lu Ming smiled as well. His body changed into his original appearance. Lu Ming. Xian Yanqing's cold voice was heard as he stepped into the air. Like a demoness, he attracted everyone's attention. She's so beautiful. Is she the saint of the Tianyu demonic sect? I think so. I heard that the sect master of the Tianyu demon sect took in a new saintess as a disciple and trained her with all his might. Some people were discussing. Little Qing. Lu Ming smiled. The two of them looked at each other affectionately. Everything was conveyed without words. Tian Shui's gaze fell on Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. He grinned. Haha, junior brother. This must be your sister-in-law. She's really beautiful. She's the golden boy and jade girl with you. A match made in heaven. Junior brother, sister-in-law is so beautiful. Why didn't you introduce her to us? You must be punished. Xuanixin also joked. Ha ha ha. Lu Ming smiled and began to introduce them. Xian Yanqing also politely bowed to Tian Shui and Xuanixin, making them extremely happy. Junior sister, let's leave this place first. They have killed so many people of the Heavenly God sect. The Heavenly God sect will not let this matter rest. We must not get involved. At this moment, a discordant voice was heard. Mo Yang walked over with a cold expression. When he looked at Lu Ming, a hint of killing intent flashed in his eyes. You guys can leave first. I want to be with Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing said. Junior sister you. Mo Yang's expression turned even colder. He looked at Lu Ming with intense jealousy, and the killing intent in the depths of his eyes turned even colder. When Xian Yanqing first joined the Tianyu demon sect, Mo Yang had been in seclusion. He only came out when the treasure auction was about to begin. When he saw Xian Yanqing, he was instantly shocked. She was his junior sister, and in his heart, Xian Yanqing was already his woman. When he heard that Xian Yanqing had a boyfriend, he was filled with jealousy and killing intent. Therefore, back then at Song Mountain, that was why he would make a move to stop Zifeng. Junior sister, this place is not safe. It's more suitable for me to stay with you. Mo Yang's eyes flickered as he spoke. This made Xian Yanqing frown. Lu Ming's eyes flashed with killing intent. How could Lu Ming not see through Mo Yang's thoughts? Sister-in-law has already let some people go. Some people are really thick-skinned and insist on following her shamelessly. Aren't they ashamed? Tian Shui sneered. What did you just say? Mo Yang said with a dark expression. What did I say? Someone knows what I'm talking about. Tian Shui curled his lips. Humph. Mo Yang snorted coldly. He looked at Xian Yanqing and said, Junior sister, you have to think this through. Our Tianyu demon sect and Dragon God Valley are, after all, different sections. Moreover, Lu Ming has challenged the Divine Sun. In a year and a half, he will definitely be killed by the Divine Sun. He won't live for long. It's not too late for you to leave him now. Mo Yang. Xian Yanqing snorted coldly. His face was unusually cold. Let me tell you, 1.5 years later, Lu Ming won't die. The one who will die will be the Divine Sun. Also, I only respect you because you're my senior brother. If anyone else had said such words, I would have already taken action. Now please leave. Otherwise, don't blame me for falling out with you. Junior sister you. Mo Yang's expression was extremely unsightly. In the end, he gave Lu Ming a cold and gloomy look, then turned around and left. The other members of the Tianyu demonic sect also left with Mo Yang. Lu Ming, I'm sorry. Xian Yanqing looked at Lu Ming apologetically. Haha, you and I don't need to say such things. Besides, this shows that you are very charming. If such a charming beauty likes me, I will have a greater sense of achievement. Lu Ming said with a smile. You're so smug. Xian Yanqing also smiled. Oh right, little Qing, why are you here? Lu Ming asked. The Tianyu demonic sect and the Dragon God Valley were neighbors, but they were far from the western part of the Azure continent. Why would Xian Yanqing and the others be here? Even if they had heard the news and wanted to rush over, they wouldn't have been able to do it so quickly. Mo Yang and I, as well as other people from the Tianyu demonic sect, We're hunting down a traitor of the Tianyu demonic sect. We happened to be in the vicinity, and we heard the news, so we rushed over to take a look, Xian Yinqing said. After that, Lu Ming went to ask the Sky Hammer and Xuanixin. It turned out that the two of them were adventuring outside and had just arrived in the west of Cangzhou. After hearing the news, they had rushed over to watch. Chapter 1572. 1572 Chapter 1572 Entering the Windy Plains. There's a change in the heavenly wind plains. What? Let's go and take a look. At this time a piece of news came. The surrounding people all flew towards the sky wind plains. Is there a change in the heavenly wind plains? The expressions of Lu Ming and the other three changed. Junior brother, how about we go and take a look? Tian Shui said. All right, let's go. Immediately, Lu Ming, Xian Yinqing, Tian Shui, and Xuanixin flew towards the windy plains. Bzz. At this moment, another cry of a phoenix could be heard from the heavenly wind plains. The cry was filled with despair and unwillingness. The phoenix's cry is getting softer and softer. It seems to be getting weaker and weaker. Lu Ming said, could it be that the divine bird phoenix is about to fall, so it keeps chirping? Xian Yinqing guessed. It's not impossible, Lu Ming said. Very quickly, the four of them arrived at the outskirts of the heavenly wind plains. The heavenly wind plains was extremely vast. Many people were standing in the air outside the plains. Lu Ming and the other three stood at the back, not at all eye-catching. And NBSB hoo-hoo. In the sky and wind plain, the wind was howling. Giant tornadoes swept across the sky and the earth. There were many of them, and they were densely packed. From a distance it was a spectacular sight. No one knew how these tornadoes were formed. It seemed to have suddenly appeared 80,000 years ago. Some people guessed that there had been a terrifying battle between experts here, and it was formed by the power of laws. Some people also guessed that it was formed because a large array had been set up inside. There were many different opinions, and no one agreed on the answer. But now some of the tornadoes were actually moving, slowly moving towards the depths of the plains. And as time passed, more and more tornadoes were moving in the same direction, towards the depths of the breezy plains. Slowly, the tornadoes on the heavenwind plain became less and less violent. At this time, the cry of a phoenix was heard again, and it seemed to be more clear. The heavenly wind has retreated, so something must have happened inside. There must be a treasure inside. In any forbidden land, opportunities and dangers coexist. Now that the heavenly wind has retreated, it's a once-in-lifetime opportunity. Many people were moved, revealing a fiery gaze. Whoosh! Suddenly someone moved. He rushed into the heavenly wind plain. He avoided the remaining tornadoes, and quickly rushed into the depths of the heavenly wind plain. Seeing that the man was fine, more and more people started to move. They kept rushing towards the windy plains, and disappeared from everyone's sight. Let's go in and take a look. If there's any danger, it won't be too late to retreat. More and more people rushed towards the sky and wind plains. Riches and honor were obtained from danger, and it was even more so for martial cultivators. One had to rely on themselves to grab opportunities. As the rainbow light flickered, countless figures rushed into the sky wind plains and disappeared. Lu Ming saw the people from the Yudu sect, Yu Sheng from the deity sect, and Mo Yang, and the others also rushing into the sky wind plains. Let's go and take a look, Lu Ming said. Just what I wanted. All right, Tian Shui, and the rest also nodded their heads. They then stepped forward and rushed into the sky wind plains. And NBSB hoo-hoo. As soon as they rushed into the sky wind plains, they felt the wind whistling like blades. They used their Zhen Yuan to protect themselves from the wind. The four of them carefully avoided the tornadoes and rushed inside. There were still many tornadoes left, and they were constantly moving, but they were not fast. There were many gaps, enough for them to pass through easily. Very quickly, the three of them had flown over 1,000 miles. Not far away, there were people fighting. One of them was blown away and caught in a tornado. He let out a shrill scream. In the eyes of Lu Ming and the others, the man was crushed into pieces by the tornado. What a terrifying power, Tian Shui said as he licked his lips. Lu Ming took out a 9th-level spiritual weapon and threw it at a tornado nearby. After the 9th-level spiritual weapon was sucked into the tornado, it was shattered into pieces within a few breaths by the terrifying wind. The four of them became serious. The power of the tornado was terrifying. No wonder it was said that even saints would be killed if they were caught in it. The four of them continued to move forward. Along the way, they saw that the ground was flat and barren. Buzz! Suddenly, he saw a branch being thrown out of a tornado. It's phoenix incense wood. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Their eyesight was extremely good. Even though they were still a distance away, they could clearly see that there was a phoenix mark on the branch, which was the characteristic of the phoenix fragrance wood. According to the villagers, the phoenix incense wood they had obtained was also blown from the heavenly wind plains. The four of them hurriedly rushed towards the phoenix incense wood. This section of phoenix incense wood was 3 meters long and as thick as a human waist. It looked like a branch of a huge ancient tree. Haha, such a big piece. How many raw gemstones would it be worth? Tian Shui laughed. Buzz! Buzz! And MBSB whoosh! Right at this moment, the sound of something breaking through the air was heard. 7 to 8 figures appeared and surrounded the four of them. Put down the phoenix incense wood, and then get lost. A black-robed old man coldly shouted. All of them were middle-aged or old men. They all had strong auras, and even the weakest of them was at LV8 Martial Emperor realm. A few of them had even reached LV9 Martial Royal realm. You're telling us to scram? You're the ones who should get lost. If you want to die, then come and try. A giant hammer appeared in Tian Shui's hand, as his eyes revealed a malevolent look. Stubborn. Kill. One of the black-robed men roared and took the lead, charging towards Tian Shui. A long spear pierced out, filling the sky with spear shadows that enveloped Tian Shui. Die! Tian Shui let out a loud roar as his giant hammer smashed towards his opponent. Boom! The spear shadows that filled the sky disappeared, and the giant hammer directly struck the opponent's body. With a loud bang, the opponent's body was smashed flat, flying a few hundred meters away, without a trace of life. He was killed in one move. Let's join hands. The black-robed elder roared in anger. The aura of a peak LV9 Martial Royal Realm expert burst out, and a terrifying saber radiance slashed toward Lu Ming. These people were obviously not present when Lu Ming and the rest fought with the Heaven Deity sect. They did not know Lu Ming and the rest. If they had seen that battle, they would not have attacked Lu Ming and the rest. Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile. His essential core surged into the flowing elemental gloves, and he threw a punch. Boom! The flowing essence glove's weight had become shocking, coupled with the chaos domain and the prison-suppressing heavenly art. Its power was extremely terrifying. With a single punch, the other party's blade light immediately dispersed. The fist's momentum did not stop as it continued to punch towards the black-robed elder. The black-robed old man's expression changed drastically, and he used his saber to block in front of him. Clang! Lu Ming's fist landed on the saber, causing it to explode. His fist did not stop, and continued to land on the black-robed elder. The black-robed elder let out an indignant roar, and his body exploded like his saber. He's only at the 9th level of the Martial Royal Realm, but he doesn't even have a holy weapon. He's so weak. Lu Ming pursed his lips. Chapter 1573. 1573 Chapter 1573 Meeting Emo Yang again. If Lu Ming's words were heard by the people from the small sects, they would probably vomit blood in anger. A saint weapon was a special weapon used by saint realm experts. It was extremely precious, and very few people below the saint realm had it. Lu Ming had only encountered top geniuses who had holy weapons because they were heavily nurtured by their respective sections. Some of the smaller sects did not even have holy weapons. Even if some of them had holy weapons, they would be considered the sect's most prized treasures. Even in the 13 top sects of the Azure continent, most LV8 and LV9 martial emperors used king spiritual weapons. Many half-saints even used king spiritual weapons instead of holy weapons. Myriad devil domain. On the other side, Xian Yinqing shouted and spread out his domain. In his domain, There was a beautiful demoness sitting cross-legged, suppressing the surroundings. An old man in the LV9 Martial Emperor realm was enveloped by Xianyang's all-demons domain. He roared madly and was killed by Xianyang's palm. Myriad Devil Domain? It seems that little official's battle strength has become even more powerful after becoming a martial emperor. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He was happy for Xianyang. No wonder he was accepted as a direct disciple by the sect master of the Tianyu demon sect, and became the saintess of the sect. Xianyang's astral body was definitely a superior one. Lu Ming could even vaguely sense that there was a terrifying power hidden in Xianyang's body. While Lu Ming was thinking about this, Tian Shui and Xuanixin had also killed one person each. Of the 7 to 8 experts, only 3 remained. Go! The remaining 3 people were almost scared to death as they fled frantically. Lu Ming and the other 2 could not be bothered to chase after them. These people were obviously from small sects, so they did not take them to heart. Well, split this section of phoenix incense wood equally. Lu Ming grabbed the phoenix incense wood and condensed his vital essence into a blade. He divided the phoenix incense wood into 4 portions, 1 for each of them, and put it away. Could there be a huge phoenix incense tree in the heavenly wind plains? Tian Shui licked his lips, revealing a fiery light. That section was obviously just a branch. If the branch was so big, how huge was the trunk? The divine bird phoenix lives in the heavenly wind plains. Perhaps it lives on the main branch of the phoenix incense wood. Lu Ming speculated. Then the 4 of them continued forward. Junior sister. Not long after, a voice rang out, and Mo Yang flew over from the side. Lu Ming, Xianyang, Tian Shui, and Xuanixin all frowned. They had not expected to meet Mo Yang here. Junior sister, I've finally found you. Mo Yang had a smile on his face as he flew over and looked at Xianyang with concern. Someone really doesn't know what's going on. Sister-in-law already told you to leave, so why did you still come here? Tian Shui disdainfully said. Mo Yang glanced at Tian Shui, a sharp glint in his eyes. If Xianyang had not been here, he would have already killed Tian Shui, Lu Ming, and the other 2. My junior sister is the saintess of the Tianyu demonic sect. I've been ordered to protect her. I must stay by her side. Mo Yang said. Mo Yang, I don't need your protection. Lu Ming will naturally protect me. Xianyang frowned. Junior sister, I'm following master's orders. I don't dare to disobey. Otherwise, I'll be punished when I go back. So, even if you drive me away, I'll follow you. Mo Yang said. Fuck, some people's skin is even thicker than an elephant's. Tian Shui unhappily said. It's not just an elephant. It's even thicker than the city wall. I've seen shameless people, but I've never seen someone as shameless as him. Xuanixin followed. Shut up. If you dare to insult me again, I'll kill you all. Die. Mo Yang shouted. A violent aura spread out from his body, and the demonic chi soared into the sky. The dense demonic chi was like a burning flame. Bang! Bang! Tian Shui and Xuanixin were suppressed by this aura, and couldn't help but take a few steps back. Buzz! Lu Ming appeared in front of Tian Shui and Xuanixin. He spread his black wings to resist Mo Yang's aura. Mo Yang was one of the top 10 geniuses of the Azure region. His cultivation had long reached the half-saint realm, and he was definitely not someone they could defeat. Mo Yang, they're my friends. If you want to touch them, you'll have to do it over my dead body. Xianyang appeared beside Lu Ming and glared at Mo Yang. Mo Yang's eyes were filled with flames of jealousy, as if they were about to burn. His eyes flashed with a fierce light. He suddenly smiled and said, Junior sister is overthinking. They are your friends. Why would I do anything to them? Let's go, I'll go with you. There might be some great treasures in the heavenly wind plains. Xianyang looked at Mo Yang coldly. She was helpless. Mo Yang had insisted on following her. With no one else in the group, they continued forward. The heavenly wind plain was huge. They continued to travel for thousands of miles, passing through many huge tornadoes, and slowly entered the heavenly wind plain. On the way, she heard the phoenix cry a few more times, but it felt like the sound was getting softer and softer. Look over there. There seems to be a piece of phoenix incense wood. Suddenly, Mo Yang pointed in a direction. Everyone looked over, and indeed, on the left, they saw a section of phoenix incense wood. There were huge exposed boulders. The boulders were very smooth, probably because they had been worn out by the wind. The phoenix incense wood was right between the huge rocks. Everyone rushed over. No one noticed the smug sneer in Mo Yang's eyes, as well as the cold killing intent. Not good, there's an ambush. Retreat. As they neared the phoenix incense wood, Lu Ming felt an inexplicable sense of danger. He roared and tried to pull Xian Yinqing and the rest back. But it was too late. In a flash, at least a dozen figures rushed out from behind the boulders and surrounded Lu Ming and the 5 of them. Yu Sheng, the Heaven Deity sect, and the Desire Poison sect. Lu Ming's eyes swept across the room, and he noticed that one of them was Yu Sheng. As for the others, they weren't young anymore. From their clothes, there were people from the Heaven God sect and the Desire Poison sect. Lu Ming, this time, I'll see how you die. Yu Sheng's eyes were cold. This brat killed so many of our people. He's really seeking his own death. A white-haired old man from the Heavenly God sect coldly spoke. An extremely shocking aura erupted from his body. Half-saint. Lu Ming, Tian Shui, Xuaningxin, and Xian Yinqing's expressions changed drastically. The other party had dispatched a half-saint expert. Boom. Boom. Following that, a few more terrifying auras burst out. The terrifying pressure pressed down on Lu Ming and the rest. Half-saint again. The deity sect and the Yudu sect both had half-saints. There were 3 half-saints in total, although the 9th level of the martial royal realm was 1 level away from the half-saint realm. The difference was huge. It was not as simple as 1 level. Tian Shui and Xuaningxin, who were at the early stage of the LV8 martial royal realm, could even kill an ordinary peak LV9 martial royal realm expert. However, they were no match for a half-saint. Not to mention, there were 3 half-saints. A year and a half ago, when Lu Ming returned to Dragon God Valley from the Tsang Mountains, he was besieged by evil spirit. Just a half-saint had almost forced Lu Ming into a dead end. Chapter 1574. 1574 Chapter 1574 Charging into the tornado. It was obvious that the Heaven Deity sect and the Yudu sect were determined to kill Lu Ming and the rest. Moreover, in the Skygale Plain, Lu Ming and the rest would die without even knowing how they died. The Dragon God Valley could not avenge them. It was normal to die in the forbidden area. The 2 of you from the Tianyu demon sect, this matter has nothing to do with you. You can leave now. The white-haired elder of the Tianshan sect looked at Mo Yang and Xian Yinqing. All right, well, leave immediately. Mo Yang hurriedly said. No, I want leave. Xian Yinqing shook his head. He stood beside Lu Ming with a determined look in his eyes. Junior sister, what are you doing? Lu Ming is extremely audacious to have offended the deity sect and the Desire Poison sect. He's the one who's courting death. Why do you have to accompany him? Mo Yang roared, extremely jealous. If you want to go by yourself. It's my own life, I choose. Xian Yinqing said coldly. No, you're my junior sister, the Holy Virgin of my Tianyu demonic sect. If something happens to you, how am I going to explain it to my master and the entire Tianyu demonic sect? I must take you away. Mo Yang said firmly. Little Qing, you go. At this moment Lu Ming spoke. No, I want to stay with you. Xian Yinqing shook his head. His gaze was firm. He knew that Lu Ming was doing this for her own good, but she would not leave. Buzz. Right at this moment, Mo Yang made his move. He grabbed Xian Yinqing's shoulder and poured in his nomological law power, sealing Xian Yinqing's cultivation. Then, he grabbed Xian Yinqing and retreated at top speed. Mo Yang, let me go. Xian Yinqing roared. I won't let you go. I won't let you die with Lu Ming. Mo Yang said coldly. He grabbed Xian Yinqing and left the encirclement. Do it. As Mo Yang and Xian Yinqing retreated, the white-haired elder from the Tianshan sect roared. A long spear appeared in his hand. It exuded a terrifyingly sharp aura as he stabbed it at Lu Ming. Without a doubt, this was a holy weapon. Voila! Black wings appeared on Lu Ming's back. At the same time, the holy weapon shield appeared in front of him. Clang! The long spear struck the holy shield and sent it flying. The long spear did not stop, and continued to stab the black wings. Lu Ming felt his body tremble, as he was sent flying by a terrifying force. On the other side, Tian Shui and Xuaningxin used their saint weapons at the same time. However, the opponent's half-saint had also made his move. He was also controlling his saint weapon, and the power was shocking. Tian Shui and Xuaningxin were no match for him. They were sent flying like Lu Ming. Their blood and qi were in turmoil, and they almost vomited blood. Don't linger in battle, let's go first. With a flap of his black wings, Lu Ming appeared beside Tian Shui and Xuaningxin. This time, the Heaven Deity sect and the Yudu sect were well prepared. 3 half-saints wielded holy weapons, and even a few 9th-level martial royal realm experts wielded holy weapons. Their combat strength was extremely strong, far beyond their current strength. Bubble, Lu Ming called out. Chirping, Bubbles waved her little claws and a space-time tunnel appeared. The 3 of them were about to cross the space-time tunnel and leave this place. You want to leave? Dream on. Another half-saint of the Tianshan sect shouted coldly and waved his hand. A huge cauldron the size of a mountain crushed over and suppressed the entrance of the space-time tunnel, blocking the way of the 3. Charge out. In the direction of the Yudu sect, Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to Tian Shui and Xuaningxin. Although the Yudu sect's poison qi was very powerful and could kill without a trace, its frontal attack power was far inferior to that of the Tianshan sect. Since the space-time tunnel was blocked, they would forcibly charge out from the Yudu sect's direction. Kill! Tian Shui roared. The 3 of them gathered together and controlled their saint weapons, madly charging in the direction of the Yudu sect. Whoosh! Whoosh! At the side, all sorts of attacks were launched at the 3 of them. Lu Ming controlled the holy weapon shield and the black wings to defend with all his might, enveloping the 3 of them. Thump! Boom! All sorts of attacks landed on Lu Ming's shield and black wings, creating a loud boom. Lu Ming's body trembled as his qi and blood churned and blood seeped out of the corners of his mouth. Kill, kill, kill! Tian Shui roared madly, while Xuaningxin roared like a dragon. The 2 of them combined their strength and continued to charge forward. The 2's combat strength was indeed astonishing. No one could stop them, unless they were at the half-saint level. A few of the Yudu sect's experts were blasted apart by Tian Shui's giant hammer, turning into poisonous gas and retreating. The 3 of them cooperated and charged in that direction. They were about to break out of the encirclement. Poison Ibis Law go around. The half-saint of the Desire Poison sect was seething with poisonous gas. He shouted and pressed his hands in the air. Whoosh! Countless poisonous vines suddenly appeared in the air. Each poisonous vine was full of thorns. They covered the sky and covered the sun, shrouding Lu Ming and the other 2. Not good. Lu Ming's expression changed. This kind of poisonous ivy was formed from the law of poisonous ivy. It was filled with poison and was extremely tough. Tian Shui and Xuaningxin's attacks landed on the poison ivy, but they were unable to break through it. The poison ivy surrounded the 3 of them from all directions and quickly closed up. Whoosh! The black wings enlarged and wrapped around the 3 of them, forming a round ball. In the next moment, the poison ibis law arrived and wrapped around the round ball formed by black feather wing. Zzz. The poisonous vines wrapped around the black wings, making an ear-piercing sound. But the black wings were saint weapons after all, and the poisonous vines couldn't break them. Even the lowest level bright saint weapon couldn't be broken by a half-saint expert. Only a saint realm expert could break a saint weapon by force. What's the point of hiding in your turtle shell? Let's see if your saint weapon can protect you in that tornado. The half-saint of the Yudu sect said coldly. He controlled the poisonous vine, and it flew towards a tornado. When it approached one of the tornadoes, the half-saint of the Yudu sect threw out a palm, and the poisonous vine that had wrapped around Lu Ming, and the others flew directly into one of the tornadoes. Lu Ming! In the distance, Xian Yanqing roared and struggled madly. However, Mo Yang held him tightly, and he could not move. Haha, Lu Ming, no matter how strong you are, you'll still die if you go against the Tianshan sect. Yusheng laughed. And in BSB hoo-hoo, the tornado whistled through the air in a terrifying manner. It was slowly moving towards the depths of the heavenly wind plains. Those from the Heaven Deity sect and the Yudu sect watched from the outside for a while. Seeing that there was no movement, they left one after another. Mo Yang, let me go! Xian Yinqing roared. His beautiful eyes were filled with a trace of blood and cold killing intent. Junior sister, what are you doing? Lu Ming and the rest were sent into the tornado, and they're dead for sure. They deserve this. Who asked them to offend the deity sect and the desire poison sect? Mo Yang laughed coldly, but his heart was filled with joy. Lu Ming was finally dead. Xian Yinqing should have given up by now. Mo Yang, let me go. Otherwise I'll fight you to the death. At this moment, Xian Yinqing had actually calmed down. However, his body was filled with a bone-chilling killing intent, causing Mo Yang to feel a chill in his heart. Bitch. Anyway, Lu Ming is already dead. In the future, I will definitely make you fall head over heels for me. Mo Yang gritted his teeth as he let go of Xian Yinqing. As soon as he let go of Xian Yinqing, Xian Yinqing's demonic qi exploded, and his cultivation recovered. Chapter 1575. 1575 Wind Crystal. Xian Yinqing's cultivation had been restored, but his eyes were even colder. He looked at Mo Yang and said, Mo Yang, you're really despicable. You actually colluded with the Heaven Deity sect and the Yudu sect to harm Lu Ming. You're truly worthy of being one of the top 10 monstrous talents of the Azure region. His words were filled with mockery. Junior sister, what did you say? Mo Yang's expression changed slightly, and he revealed an ugly smile. Say what? Did he not dare to admit what he had done? How did the Heaven God sect and the Desire Poison sect know where we are? To be able to set up an ambush here so accurately, if it wasn't someone who leaked the information, what could it be? You intentionally looked for us, and then came with us just to tip us off. Xian Yinqing said coldly. She was extremely intelligent. Previously, she had thought that meeting Mo Yang was purely a coincidence. But now that she thought about it, she realized that everything had been arranged by Mo Yang. Junior sister, don't slander me. Mo Yang's face was cold. You know best whether you did it or not. I'm warning you, don't follow me anymore or I'll kill you. Xian Yinqing said coldly. Then, he moved and flew toward the tornado that Lu Ming and the others were in. Bitch, sooner or later, I'll make you beg for mercy in front of me. As he watched Xian Yinqing leave, Mo Yang's eyes were filled with ferocity and the fire of evil desire. Xian Yinqing came to the tornado that Lu Ming had entered and observed from afar. And MBSB hoo-hoo, the tornado whistled and slowly moved towards the heavenly wind plain. Xian Yinqing followed the tornado and moved deeper into the cave. Half a day later, Xian Yinqing's expression changed. In front of him, there were many tornadoes. This one was actually gathering with the other tornadoes. There were many tornadoes there, blocking Xian Yinqing's way. Lu Ming, you have the mountain and river diagram. The mountain and river diagram is an item that can only be refined by monarch-level experts. It should be able to withstand the power of the tornado, right? Xian Yinqing murmured, but even so, her eyes were still full of worry. She stood there for a long time, and only left when Lu Ming's tornado was completely out of sight. As soon as Lu Ming and the rest were blown into the tornado, the terrifying wind whistled and spun, cutting at the poison ivy on the outside. The poisonous vines were formed from the power of the laws, and were extremely tough. However, in the midst of the violent wind, they were quickly cut apart and turned into ashes. The wind cut at the black wings, and sparks flew in all directions. It made an ear-piercing sound, and the black wings were constantly shaking. Damn it, we've been blown into a tornado. Tian Shui roared. What do we do? The tornado is too strong. We can't get out of it. Xuanixin frowned. Thump, thump, thump. After a while, the flapping of the black wings became more and more intense. The chaos domain that Lu Ming had covered the black wings with could not withstand the cutting of the strong wind at all. In a short while, the chaos domain was cut open. Lu Ming's body trembled. A terrifying force passed through the black wings and surged into his body. Senior brother, senior sister, let's enter the mountain and river diagram. Lu Ming said. The mountain and river diagram was a treasure that could only be refined by emperor-level experts. It should be able to withstand the cutting of the wind. As for how to get out, he could only think of a way later. The wind here was too strong, so strong that even with Bubble's cultivation realm, she could not open a space-time tunnel to rush out. This was because the moment the space-time tunnel was opened, it would be destroyed by the wind. Then, Lu Ming's glabella glowed, and he kept Tian Shui and Xuanningsin into the mountain and river diagram. Just as he was about to enter the mountain and river diagram, his expression suddenly changed. Because at this time, he felt that the air-frozen bead in his sea of consciousness was shaking slightly. The air-frozen bead is a treasure of the wind attribute. It might be able to restrain the wind. Lu Ming was overjoyed. With a single thought, the air-frozen bead flew out from between his eyebrows and hovered above his head. The air-frozen bead vibrated slightly and a ray of green light shone down, shrouding Lu Ming. At this moment, the vibration on the black wings disappeared. Lu Ming felt that the strong wind had automatically detoured after meeting the energy emitted by the air-frozen bead. Lu Ming was overjoyed. The air-frozen bead was indeed useful. Following that, Lu Ming kept his black wings and a green halo enveloped him. No matter how strong the wind was, it would avoid the green halo when it came into contact with it. Whoosh! At this moment, a ray of green light flew from below the tornado. It was a green crystal the size of a fist. It's the wind crystal. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He recognized this type of crystal. The wind crystal stone was a type of crystal stone that could only be formed in places with an extremely high concentration of wind elements after a long period of time. It was a wind attribute treasure and was extremely precious. The wind crystal flew directly to the air-frozen bead, entered it, and disappeared. Lu Ming felt that the radiance on the air-frozen bead seemed to be more intense. With a cry, a bird flew out from the air-frozen bead and circled around it, as if it was cheering. The air-frozen bead was absorbing the energy of the wind crystal. Lu Ming looked in all directions. The strong wind blocked his vision, and he could not see what was happening outside. However, Lu Ming had a feeling that the tornado was constantly moving. After a long time, suddenly, another wind crystal flew up from below and integrated into the air-frozen bead. The light emitted by the air-frozen bead became brighter. At the sight of this, Lu Ming was in no hurry to go out. He entered the mountain and river diagram, and Tian Shui, Xuanningsin and Lu Ming said something, and then came out again. They let the air-frozen bead float and waited quietly. After about half a day, the air-frozen bead had absorbed 5 wind crystals in total. Boom, boom, boom. Outside the tornado, there were tremors. Could it be that it has merged with the other tornadoes? Lu Ming made a guess. At this time, the bird on the air-frozen bead chirped, flapped its wings and flew to the side. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He controlled the air-frozen bead and flew it to the side of the tornado. The tornado did not hinder them at all. Lu Ming passed through the tornado directly and saw that there was another tornado next to the tornado. The moment Lu Ming came out, he entered another tornado. Whoosh! As soon as they entered the tornado, a wind crystal flew into the air-frozen bead. Haha! It turns out that the air-frozen bead wants to absorb the wind crystals. Then, I will absorb as much as I want. Lu Ming laughed heartily in his heart. He controlled the air-frozen bead and flew toward the bottom of the tornado. Soon, it absorbed another 5 wind crystals. Then Lu Ming controlled the air-frozen bead and rushed out of the tornado. Lu Ming discovered that there were many tornadoes gathered, and they were close to each other. Lu Ming did not take a second look and continued to rush into the next tornado. Just like that, after an unknown period of time, Lu Ming had entered more than 10 tornadoes. The air-frozen bead had absorbed dozens of wind crystals. The green radiance on the air-frozen bead was extremely rich and dazzling. I've absorbed enough. Let's go out and see what's going on, Lu Ming thought to himself. He then controlled the air-frozen bead and left the tornado. There was an empty space outside. Lu Ming looked around and realized that the empty space was surrounded by tornadoes. They were close to each other and surrounded the empty space. Chapter 1576. 1576. Seeing Eden again. The surroundings were surrounded by tornadoes, surrounding this area, and leaving no paths in the surroundings. Lu Ming waved his hand and Tian Shui and Xuanixin came out of the mountain and river diagram. Junior brother, where is this? As soon as the heavenly hammer appeared, the giant hammer also appeared in his hand, and he looked around. We should be in the depths of the heavenly wind plain, where hurricanes surround us, Lu Ming said. Oh! Tian Shui and Xuanixin both looked around for a moment, and seeing that there was no danger, they both let out a sigh of relief. Man! I'll kill anyone I see from the Heaven Deity sect and the Desire Poison sect in the future. However, how did they find us before? They're still ambushing us. Tian Shui cursed. It must be Mo Yang. He's in cahoots with the Heaven Deity sect and the Desire Poison sect. That's why we're being ambushed. Xuanixin said. Senior sister, you're right. Mo Yang didn't run into us by chance. He found us on purpose and then ambushed us, Lu Ming said. Lu Ming had already thought of this when he was ambushed by the Tianshan sect and the Yudu sect. That was why he had allowed Mo Yang to take Xian Yinqing away. He knew that Xian Yinqing would not be in danger if Mo Yang took him away. Mo Yang, it's actually him. I'll smash him to pieces sooner or later. Tian Shui's eyes revealed an ominous glint as he spoke. Lu Ming also nodded. He would kill Mo Yang sooner or later. This area is surrounded by hurricanes. There must be something abnormal. Let's check the nearby area, Lu Ming said. Tian Shui and Xuanixin nodded. The three of them moved forward and began to investigate the area. This area was quite wide, about tens of miles in length and width. What's that? It seems to be a feather. Xuanixin suddenly pointed to the front. The three of them rushed over and found that the ground was full of potholes and some feathers were scattered. This is the phoenix feather. Lu Ming was shocked. He had obtained a few phoenix feathers before, so he would definitely not be mistaken. The feathers scattered on the ground were all phoenix feathers. There were more than 10 of them. It really is a phoenix feather. It seems like there is a divine phoenix in the heavenly wind plains. I can't be wrong, Tian Shui said. Senior brother, senior sister, the phoenix feather is of great use to me. I wonder if you can give it to me. I'm willing to use other treasures to offset it, Lu Ming said. As for the phoenix feather, he could let his second body refine it into a phoenix feather flying sword. Previously, there were only 5 phoenix feather flying swords, and the phoenix feathers used in those 5 swords were not of very high grade. The phoenix feather in front of him now exuded a faint saint might, which was obviously left behind by a saint realm phoenix. If it was refined into a phoenix feather flying sword, its power would be even stronger. Furthermore, the more phoenix feather flying swords there were, the more powerful the sword formation would be. Junior brother, what are you saying? If you have any use for it, just take it all. There's no need to offset it, Xuanixin said. That's right. You saved our lives just now. You're being too polite by saying that. I'm not happy about that, Tian Shui said with a grin. Thank you, senior brother and senior sister. Lu Ming cupped his fists and did not stand on ceremony. With a wave of his hand, the dozen or so phoenix feathers on the ground were all kept into the mountain and river diagram and landed on the secondary hand. This place is full of potholes. It's obvious that there was a huge battle here. Also, it looks like the divine bird phoenix was severely injured. Could it be that the cry of the phoenix was made after the phoenix was injured? Xuanixin guessed. It's possible. Let's wait and see. Lu Ming nodded, and the three of them continued to check. However, the three of them were highly focused. Even the Saint Realm Phoenix was injured. It was obvious that the opponent of the Saint Realm Phoenix was extremely powerful. Both humans and other divine beasts had to be careful. Along the way, the ground was full of potholes. It could be seen how intense the battle was. Along the way, Lu Ming and the rest discovered a small number of phoenix feathers. Lu Ming kept them all. Not long after, they found a deep pit. The crater was more than 500 meters wide and more than 1,000 meters deep. The three of them looked and guessed that there was a huge ancient tree here. Now it had been dug away. Even the roots had been dug away. Phoenix incense wood. The three of them looked at each other and thought of the phoenix incense wood. Perhaps the divine bird phoenix lived on the phoenix incense wood. Now, the phoenix was injured and its whereabouts were unknown, and the phoenix incense wood had been dug up by someone. There are scattered tree roots over there. Tian Shui's eyes could see tree roots within the deep hole. The three of them flew down, and as expected, they saw a section of a tree root that was as thick as a human thigh. It was emitting a strange fragrance, and it was definitely phoenix incense wood. Let's look around. There might still be some scattered tree roots, Lu Ming said. The three of them began to search, turning the soil in the deep pit over and over. As expected, they found quite a few tree roots. The phoenix incense tree root was even more valuable than the branch. The three of them split it equally, and the harvest was not small. It's a pity that the entire piece of phoenix incense wood was dug up by someone. Otherwise, how much would it be worth if we obtained it? Tian Shui's eyes lit up. The phoenix incense wood could help a martial artist calm his mind and focus his mind. As long as one was a martial arts cultivator, they would need it. How many warriors were there in the Yuan continent? No one knew that the phoenix fragrance wood was definitely something that everyone was fighting for. Who knew how many raw stones a piece of phoenix fragrance wood could be sold for? The three of them searched carefully again, and left after finding nothing. But soon, the three of them were shocked because they found a person. To be precise, there was a bloody pit there, and a figure was sitting cross-legged in the pit. Eden. Lu Ming was shocked. That figure was actually Eden from the Divine Ruins Continent group. Lu Ming had a deep impression of this person. Back then, this person's bloodline was a phoenix zither. He could play the divine song of the phoenix, and his combat power was very strong. Eden was actually able to enter this place. Eden was sitting cross-legged in the blood pit. The blood in the blood pit had actually turned into the shadow of a phoenix and entered Eden's body. The blood was obviously phoenix blood. Lu Ming, do you know this person? Tian Shui asked. Yes, I do. He came from the same group of continents as me. In our group of continents, he was a peerless Heaven's Pride expert. Later on, he joined the Tianshan sect. Lu Ming said. The people of the Heavenly God sect. Tian Shui's eyes were filled with cold, killing intent. But at this moment, Eden was completely oblivious to the outside world, and was focused on absorbing the phoenix blood. Boom! A moment later, a phoenix shadow flew out of Eden's body. After letting out a long cry, Eden's aura grew. The 5th level of the Martial Emperor realm. Obviously, Eden had made a major breakthrough in his cultivation, and entered the 5th level of the Martial Royal realm. At this moment, Eden opened his eyes. When he saw Lu Ming and the other two, his pupils constricted, and he retreated rapidly. Lu Ming, it's you? Eden immediately exclaimed in disbelief. Of course it's me. Why? Don't you recognize me? Lu Ming smiled faintly. Lu Ming, I've already withdrawn from the deity sect. Eden muttered to himself. Oh. Lu Ming raised his eyebrows. This was out of Lu Ming's expectations. Eden's cultivation was not very high. If he left the deity sect now, it would be equivalent to losing his protection. Chapter 1577, 1577 Chapter 1577, Suspected Monarch Weapon No. Eden shook his head. The ideas and actions of the Tianshan sect are really inconsistent with my martial arts. If I continue to stay, the progress of my cultivation may be even slower. Haha kid, you have good eyes. It's good that you're leaving. The Tianshan sect will be destroyed by my Dragon God Valley sooner or later. Tian Shui laughed out loud. As long as he heard someone belittling the Heavenly God sect, he would be happy. You're leaving alone? Lu Ming asked. Ji Hongchen was there as well. However, after she left with me, she headed west, out of the Azure continent. I don't even know where she is now. Edian said. Lu Ming's heart stirred. It was good that a few acquaintances had left. It would be difficult to deal with acquaintances when they attacked the Divine Heavens sect in the future. How did you get in here? What happened here? Lu Ming asked again. Eden had entered this place earlier than them, and might know something. I followed the crowd into the Heavenly Wind Plain. Not long after, I sensed something and followed it to this place. When I arrived, This place looked exactly like this. However, the hurricane didn't surround it. Eden looked around and frowned when he saw the hurricane. Luming nodded. It seemed that Eden had only entered this place a little earlier than them. Now, it seems that we can only leave this place after the hurricane has moved, Eden said as he looked around. That might not be the case. Luming smiled faintly, causing Eden's eyes to light up. Then, the few of them checked the area again, but they did not find anything. Eden, are you going to leave here? I'll take you with me. Luming said. You can break through the obstruction of the wind. Eden said. Naturally, let's go. Luming nodded. The four of them randomly chose a direction and rushed over. When they were close to the hurricane, the air-frozen bead appeared between Luming's eyebrows, scattering rays of green light. With a single thought, the green light turned into a green light screen and enveloped the four of them. Enveloped by the green light curtain, the four of them could not feel the wind outside at all. The four of them moved forward, and when they walked into the hurricane, they were not affected at all. This greatly surprised Eden. The four of them walked through the hurricane, as if they were walking on flat ground. After a while, the four of them passed through the hurricane and came outside. The moment they came outside, the four people's eyes all focused. This was because they found that the area was filled with hurricanes. Tornadoes that were as high as the sky surrounded a huge mountain in the middle. The void outside the hurricane was filled with people, looking at the mountain peak in the distance. Lu Ming and the other three immediately restrained their auras and hid behind them. People from the Yudu sect and the Tianshan sect. They looked forward and saw the most people from the Yudu sect and the Tianshan sect. After all, the Desire Poison sect and the Heaven Deity sect were the closest to this place. Naturally, the number of people who came here was the highest. Other than the Desire Poison sect and the Heaven Deity sect, the others were all cultivators from some small sects and powers. Naturally, there were also some people from the other 11 peak-level sects of the Azure continent present. Of course, the number of people present was relatively small. The Tianyu Demon sect. Lu Ming's gaze turned cold. He saw the people from the Tianyu Demon sect in Emoyang, but he did not see Xian Yinqing. Where did little Qing go? Are you looking for me? Lu Ming made a guess, and he was a little worried. Bzzz. The cry of a phoenix resounded through the world. This phoenix cry was loud and clear, filled with the domineering aura of the king of birds. It was completely different from the cry of despair and unwillingness before. The cry came from the mountain peak. This cry is completely different from the previous phoenix's cry. Strange, could there be two phoenixes here? Lu Ming muttered in his heart. Following that, another cry rang out, reverberating through the heavens and earth. Everyone's eyes were on the mountains surrounded by the hurricane. Was there really a phoenix in the mountains? At this moment, the mountain glowed, and everyone saw a phoenix soaring into the sky. It circled above the mountain, emitting a vast and terrifying aura. Everyone took a closer look and realized that it was not a real phoenix, but a phantom made of energy. Boom! Then a beam of light shot out from the mountain. The cry of the phoenix became even more intense. The aura was even more terrifying as it filled the air. Under this aura, everyone had the urge to kneel down and worship. What kind of aura is this? It's so terrifying. This seems to be the aura of a weapon. It's not a living creature, but its aura is too terrifying. It's many times stronger than ordinary holy weapons. Could it be that there's an absolute saint weapon inside? Or could it be? He didn't finish his sentence, but everyone was shocked. Everyone knew what that person wanted to say. Or could it be? A monarch weapon? Sovereign weapon, the exclusive weapon of sovereign-level experts. Many people's breathing became heavy at the thought of this. There was actually a monarch weapon hidden in the heavenly wind plains? This was especially true for the people from the Heaven Deity sect and the Desire Poison sect. If a peak-grade sect could obtain an emperor weapon, as long as they could activate a trace of its power, they would be able to dominate the Azure continent. Even if it wasn't a sovereign weapon, but an absolute saint weapon, its value would still be shocking. If not for the hurricane in front of them, many people would have rushed in directly. Above the mountain, a phoenix's shadow circled, its cry getting louder and louder. Send a message back. Ask the experts of the Saint Realm to come here. Someone from the Heavenly Divine sect instructed. At the same time, the people from the Desire Poison sect also ordered. As for the other top sects, as long as they had people here, they would think of ways to send a message back and invite their Saint Realm experts. It was suspected that an Emperor-ranked weapon had appeared here. This was definitely a major event that would shake the entire Azure continent. As long as the major sects received the news, they would definitely send their experts over. After the news spread, everyone waited. It's a pity that our Dragon God Valley is too far away from here. Even if we send back the news, it will be too late. Tian Shui sighed. Senior brother, senior sister, wait for me here. At this moment, Lu Ming suddenly spoke. Junior brother, what are you doing? Do you want to go in alone? Xuaningxin said. Senior sister, don't worry. I won't go in alone, Lu Ming said. Lu Ming had the air-frozen bead, and the hurricanes could not stop him. However, Lu Ming would not go in. With his cultivation level, even if he went in and obtained the sovereign weapon, he would not be able to leave. There were so many people watching. Also, this matter is not simple. There seems to be another force in the dark. That force had injured the divine phoenix and dug out the phoenix incense wood. Perhaps the changes in the entire heavenly wind plains were caused by this. However, that force had not shown itself yet. Lu Ming would not risk it alone. Then, Lu Ming retracted his aura and transformed into a young man with a sallow face. The aura on his body also changed into another kind of aura, and then he rushed forward. In that direction, there were many experts of the Tianshan sect standing there. Among them were Yu Sheng and a few half-saint experts. They were the ones who had ambushed them before. Chapter 1578, 1578 Chapter 1578, Controlling the Hurricane Buzz. Lu Ming dashed toward the hurricane in front of him. What's that kid doing? You're really looking for death by opening your treasure eyes. Some people sneered when they saw Lu Ming rushing over. However, Lu Ming stopped as he neared the hurricane, causing some people to burst into laughter. They thought that Lu Ming had seen the treasure eye open and wanted to rush over, but was afraid at the last minute. At this moment, Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile. His glabella glowed, and the air-frozen bead appeared in his palm. Buzz! Then, Lu Ming dashed into a tornado. Everyone present was stunned. He did not expect that Lu Ming would really rush into the hurricane. That kid has a rare treasure. He's not afraid of the hurricane. Someone reacted. It's that bead. Who's that kid? We must take him down. A half-saint expert of the Tianshan sect shouted coldly with a burning light in his eyes. There was actually someone who had a rare treasure and was unafraid of the hurricane. If they obtained it, wouldn't they be able to enter the mountains directly? Damn it, that guy. Could he have entered the mountain alone? When the others spoke, it immediately caused the people from the Heaven Deity sect and the Yudu sect to be incomparably furious. They had already sent back the news that the Saint Realm experts would arrive soon. However, someone had actually rushed into the mountain first with a rare treasure. If we surround this place, even if that brat gets some treasure, he won't be able to escape. Once he comes out, we'll kill him. The half-saint expert of the Tianshan sect said indifferently. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, the tornado that Lu Ming had entered actually moved. It moved in the direction of the people from the Heavenly God sect. What's going on? Everyone from the Heaven God sect was shocked and quickly retreated. That kid's treasure can actually control hurricanes. The half-saint of the Tianshan sect roared, and the fiery light in his eyes became stronger. He was right. The air-frozen bead could indeed control hurricanes. Now Lu Ming was using the air-frozen bead to control the hurricane. Lu Ming had discovered this when he was in the hurricane. After the air-frozen bead absorbed dozens of wind crystals, it gained the ability to control the hurricane. Lu Ming was in the middle of the hurricane. He controlled the hurricane and swept it towards the people of the Tianshan sect. The speed of the hurricane became faster and faster. Damn it, retreat, retreat! The people of the Heavenly God sect shouted and quickly retreated. Even a saint would die if he entered the hurricane, let alone them. Not far away, Tian Shui and the other two were dumbstruck when they saw this. Haha, as expected of junior brother Lu Ming. Amazing! After being stunned for a while, Tian Shui joyfully said. The people of the Heavenly God sect retreated quickly. The speed at which Lu Ming controlled the hurricane became faster and faster. It was many times faster than when he moved naturally previously. He was closely following the people of the Heavenly God sect. The others were shocked. To be able to control a hurricane, he was simply undefeatable in this place. Damn it, who is that kid? They dare to oppose our Tianshan sect. Investigate, we must investigate. A half-saint of the Heavenly God sect roared. And NBSB hoo-hoo. At this moment, a hurricane suddenly moved from the side and rushed towards the people of the Heaven God sect. In the Heavenly Wind Plain, there were some hurricanes surrounding the mountain, but there were still many hurricanes that stopped in various parts of the Heavenly Wind Plain. At this moment, Lu Ming was controlling a hurricane from a long distance, and it rushed towards the people of the Heavenly God sect. Of course, there was a limit to such long-distance control. If it was too far away, it could not be controlled. This time, dozens of people from the Tianshan sect were caught off guard and were swept into the hurricane, including a half-saint expert. A series of screams rang out. Those below the half-saint realm were instantly cut into pieces by the hurricane. Only the half-saint expert was still holding on. A holy weapon appeared on his body and blocked the wind around him. No, quickly let me out! The half-saint expert shouted in fear. He wanted to charge forward with all his might, but with his cultivation, he couldn't get out of the tornado at all. The terrifying wind kept bombarding his saint weapon, making it tremble. It didn't look like it could last much longer. Ah, let me out quickly. Brat, you dare to offend my Tianshan sect? You're courting death. The half-saint was still shouting and threatening Lu Ming to let him go. How sad. Rest in peace. Lu Ming's cold voice was heard. Of course, Lu Ming's voice had also been deliberately changed. No one could tell that he was Lu Ming. Then, he controlled the tornado and swept it towards the other people of the Tianshan sect. Split up and run, split up and run. Some of the remaining experts of the Heavenly Divine sect shouted. Then, the people of the Heavenly God sect scattered and fled in all directions. Lu Ming sighed in pity. The speed of the tornado was still too slow. It could not catch up with those experts at all. Just now, they were caught off guard and only swept dozens of people from the Tianshan sect into the tornado. At this moment, the half-saint expert who had been sucked into the tornado could no longer hold on. Kacha! Cracks appeared on his saint weapon, and then it exploded with a bang. No! The half-saint screamed in fear, and then turned into ashes in the endless terrible wind. Everyone was shocked. A half-saint had been tricked and died just like that. Lu Ming walked out of the tornado, and the air-frozen beads green light enveloped him. The people of the Heavenly God sect fixed their eyes on Lu Ming. If looks could kill, Lu Ming would have been riddled with holes. Brat, who are you? How dare you kill the experts of my Heaven God sect? In the distance, Yushin glared at Lu Ming and roared. Those who commit injustice are doomed to destruction. I just don't like your Tianshan sect. Lu Ming said indifferently. You're seeking your own death. Yushin roared. Oh, then come and kill me. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Yusheng's expression was ugly. What a joke. Asking him to kill Lu Ming now was courting death. Kill! A half-saint of the Tianshan sect slashed out a ray of holy light toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming smiled disdainfully and entered the tornado in a flash. The divine light was destroyed by the power of the tornado when it hit. Then, Lu Ming controlled the tornado, which continued to stare at the half-saint and rushed toward him. The half-saint's expression changed drastically, and he hurriedly turned around and fled. And NBSB hoo-hoo. The tornado suddenly changed its direction and charged toward the people from the Sky Demon sect. What are you doing? Run! Mo Yang roared as he fled. The other people from the Tianyu demonic sect also fled. Lu Ming controlled the tornado and gave chase. The people of the Tianyu demon sect and the Heavenly God sect were in a state of panic. Lu Ming took special care of Mo Yang and chased after him, causing Mo Yang to be in a sorry state. He was furious. As one of the top 10 geniuses of the Azure continent, he was being chased around in public. He had lost all his face. As Lu Ming chased after them, he suddenly changed the direction of the wind and rushed towards the people from the Desire Poison sect. It caused the people from the Desire Poison sect to flee for their lives. Chapter 1579. 1579 Chapter 1579 Saint Realm attacks. And MBSB, the people of the other smaller factions were all stunned. Lu Ming was actually chasing after 3 top sects at the same time. It was confusing. However, the people of the 3 sects were indeed in a sorry state. Brat, when the Sage Realm expert of my Tianshan sect descends, you will be dead. Yusheng roared. That's right. There's also the Sage Realm experts of my Yudu sect. They'll arrive soon. Even if you hide in the hurricane, you'll still die. Someone from the Desire Poison sect also roared. He was really furious. Lu Ming was cheating by hiding in the tornado. He could only chase after them while they could only escape. They could not fight back. If they did, they would be courting death. Don't even mention how aggrieved he was. Lu Ming did not care, and focused on controlling the tornado to pursue. However, the members of the 3 major sects had learned their lesson and stayed away from all the tornadoes. This way, even if Lu Ming could control the other tornadoes, he would not be able to kill the members of the 3 major sections. In the end, Lu Ming glared at Mo Yang and chased him around the area for more than 10 rounds. His face was the color of a pig's liver because of anger and grievance. After chasing for a while, when he was far away, Lu Ming silently exited the tornado. Then he changed his figure and aura and arrived not far from Tian Shui and the rest. The tornadoes had stopped, but the people of the 3 sects were still cautious and stayed away from any tornadoes. After a long while, the tornado didn't move at all. The people of the 3 sects let out a long breath. However, the eyes of the people from the 3 sects were burning with a terrifying fire. They knew that they had been fooled by Lu Ming. If this matter was spread, the 3 major sects would lose all their face. Mo Yang, in particular, was even more furious. Just like that, time passed by quickly as the people of the 3 major sects were on high alert. An hour later, buzz! A white holy light flashed in the sky, and an old man in a white robe appeared. Elder, the Sage Realm Elder of my Heaven God sect has arrived. The people of the Heavenly God sect were overjoyed. Buzz! And MBSB whoosh! Following that, air-piercing sounds rang out continuously. At least 7 to 8 figures appeared in the sky, each of them exuding a vast pressure. It was the might of a saint. The people who had come were all saints. Some of them were wearing green robes while others were wearing white robes. They were Saint Realm experts from the Yudu sect and the Tianshan sect. 3 Saint Realm experts from each of the 2 sects had come. The other 2 saints were not from the 2 sections. They were probably from the small forces nearby. Some small sects and forces also had Saint Realm experts. Some of the sects were not weak, only slightly weaker than the 13 top sections. The 8 saints stood in the air, looking at the mountain in front of them. To be more precise, they were looking at the phoenix shadow. What a powerful aura! This is at least an absolute saint weapon, or even more. A sage expert of the Tianshan sect spoke, his eyes revealing a burning light. The other sages were also excited. Boom! All of a sudden, a saint from the Tianshan sect moved. He took a step forward, and the whole world rumbled. A milky white saint light shot up from his body. Finally, the infinite saint light condensed into a battle blade. The saber was at least tens of thousands of meters long. It crossed the void and slashed at the tornadoes in front of him. Boom! The blade of holy light struck the tornado and made an ear-piercing sound. The terrifying wind was like an infinite blade, constantly hitting the blade of holy light. The space was shaking. Break! The sage of the Tianshan sect roared. The aura on his body was even more terrifying. The light of his holy light battle blade shone brightly as he tried to split the tornado. The huge blade of holy light actually cut into the tornado. Many people held their breath and looked forward with wide eyes. Could a saint stage powerhouse break through the tornado? However, when the holy light battle blade was cut halfway, it was finally slashed by the endless wind blades and exploded. The sage realm expert of the Heavenly God sect had failed. In the distance, Lu Ming's expression was still very solemn. The strength of a saint stage powerhouse is truly terrifying. Lu Ming thought to himself. He knew very well how powerful the tornado was. If a half-saint entered, he would die without even being able to resist. However, the Saint Realm expert just now could actually split the tornado in half, and almost completely split it in half. His strength was truly terrifying. Faced with such an expert, Lu Ming would not be safe, even if he used the air-frozen bead to hide in the tornado. The hurricane here is too strong. One person can't break it. How about we join forces? Jiang Chen said. A saint from the Yudu sect said. Join forces? How will we split the treasures after we enter? One of the sages from the Heavenly God sect said. After entering, of course it'll be based on your own ability. Whoever gets it will get it. A saint from the Desire Poison sect said. Alright, we agree. The 3 sages of the Heavenly God sect nodded at the same time. The other 2 saints from the small sects nodded in agreement. Boom! 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 The 8 saints released terrifying auras at the same time. Their boundless saintly might filled the air. At the same time, a saint weapon rushed out of each of the 8, shining with brilliant light. The power of a saint weapon in the hands of a saint was completely different from that of anyone below the saint realm. It was terrifying. Then all 8 of them struck out at the same time. All 8 of their saint weapons struck at the tornado. Boom! The tornado shook violently. The tornado was powerful, but it couldn't stop the combined attack of 8 saints. After a loud boom, the tornado exploded and turned into a violent wind that scattered in all directions. One of the tornadoes was broken. Many people's eyes lit up. Continue, one of the sages from the Heavenly God sect said. Then, the 8 sages continued to attack. Terrifying attacks were continuously launched. The tornadoes were destroyed by the 8 people's attacks, turning into wind energy and dissipating. Soon, at least a dozen tornadoes were blown apart, and a huge gap appeared in the tornadoes surrounding the mountain. Everyone could clearly see the situation inside the mountain. At the bottom of the mountain, there was a huge cave. Bright light filled the cave. Surprisingly, the other tornadoes around the mountain didn't move. They didn't fill up the gap. Buzz! Suddenly, a sage realm elder of the Heaven God sect turned into a ray of light and rushed toward the mountain. In an instant he rushed out of the hurricane's range. Don't even think about it. The people from the Desire Poison sect roared and rushed forward as well. In the blink of an eye, the 8 sages had rushed into the region enveloped by the hurricane and into the cave. Let's go in and take a look. The others couldn't hold it in any longer. After seeing the 8 saints rush in, some others also rushed into the cave. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.